Right. Okay.
And then I have it on my phone. And then
Right.
anytime I could go to a TV that has AirPlay, I can just AirPlay it from my phone. Screen mirror.
Yeah,
Take David.
He's not even there.
Okay.
He understands what AirPlay is. Okay? Just come on now.
Hey, like my new phone case?
I don't care. Stop. Just in through the nose, out through the mouth. Yeah, great. It's Miami Dolphin colors.
One minute.
Morning, Artie.
$30.
Morning.
10 seconds.
Yeah, we're with you, KW.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Hope your week got off to a good start. As we ask the question, how the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. I wake up in Phoenix where it's 4 a.m. and the home team lost yet again. Big win for the Patriots. They desperately needed it. Mark wakes up in the cozy confines of the 239. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good, David. Good morning. Well, I mean, the Patriots took care of business last night. Obviously, a horrible night for Kyler Murray. 3 plays in, blows out his knee. And just awful to see that. Took away a lot of the excitement from the game when you get an injury that early. I mean, it really does take a lot of energy out of a game.
Well, and also both teams offensively challenged. I mean, that was a slog. That was tough viewing last night. I mean, we knew it in the booth. First off, it also seemed like you couldn't go 5 plays without there being an injury. We had 6 guys who got knocked out of that game during the game. I mean, even for the NFL, that's up there. And not to belabor a point, but why it is the NFL does not just allow all 53 guys to be active. I mean, why 6 or 7 guys get to get paid for not playing makes absolutely no sense. And, Mark, when Kyler Murray gets hurt on the 3rd play of the game, well, they didn't activate their 3rd quarterback. I mean, Colt McCoy was it for Arizona. And he got sacked 6 times and was running for his life all day. I mean, I know it's the number one sport, and, we sit here like lapdogs most of the time, but
there are easy fixes. And I think that's where David and I keep going back to this, that this seems so simple that a couple of guys in a room are saying, well, we can't have one team with 53 and one with 51. They'd have an advantage. Are they watching the games and seeing what's happening by halftime?
And also, it wouldn't be 53 and 51. The team with 51 would promote 2 from the practice squad. Or they'd only suit up 51 because that's all they want to do. They don't want to pay the 2 guys from the practice squad. Okay, whatever. That would be their decision. It would be like a baseball team, and it happens in the NBA all the time. I mean, you look some days, and they literally only have 8 guys sitting on the bench. I mean, what was it? 9 Brooklyn Nets who didn't play in Indiana the other day? 9. Whatever. Just a thought, because, the Patriots were down to 2 running backs early in the game. Cardinals are down to 1 quarterback. I don't know. But, Mark, think about it if you're Arizona. I mean, we're watching Odell Beckham, who got hurt in the first week of February. And 10 months later, he can't play. Now, granted, it was his second ACL injury, but he can't play. Well, if you go 10 months for Kyler Murray, just 10 months, you're talking second week of October. And that's if he's able to play.
First knee injury, younger, all of those things. I think 10 months is a reasonable timeline. But you are still talking about no preseason, no September, and then having to get ready in October.
Yeah, you're talking about, I mean, basically, you know how DeAndre Hopkins had a 6-game suspension? I mean, best case scenario right now, if you're the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray's essentially suspended for the first 6 games of next year. I mean, that would be a quick turnaround, by the way. That's a tough pill for an organization to swallow. Any organization. Never mind an organization that decided to, hitch their wagon to a unique quarterback and a coach who coaches a system that most other coaches wouldn't coach. And so you wonder if this organization, who, by the way, they were 7-0 last year, right around Halloween, 7-0 since they're 8-16. And now Kyler Murray's hurt? Whoo-wee. Just saying.
It is why, and David and I are guilty of it, even this late in the season, you start playing the schedule game and looking ahead. It's why it's so dangerous to do. Because not like Arizona was a tough out anyhow, but they don't look like they're nearly as tough for the teams that play them the rest of the way.
But if the old season ended today, that win by the Patriots gets them in. They own the 7-6 tiebreaker. Very quickly, first, when you've got 2 of the 3 teams in the same division, they have to line up who's ahead of whom. Patriots are ahead of the Jets. They swept them. So the Jets are technically in last place in the AFC East. How about that? AFC and NFC East, this late in the season, all 4 teams above 500. Unbelievable.
Remarkable.
And so the Patriots are ahead of the Jets. So then it's the Patriots against the Chargers head-to-head, and the Patriots have the better conference record. So that's why New England would sneak in as the 7 right now, and the Chargers and Jets would be on the outs.
And let's just hope that can flip by the end, because we don't want to see this team in the playoffs over the Chargers. I'm not knocking New England or, the Patriots. It's just, if the rosters were switched, I'd be saying the same thing. I want to see Justin Herbert in the postseason. I want to see that offense. I want to see what they can do up against a 2 seed. That would be exciting to me. Seeing the Patriots get into the playoffs as a 7 seed and taking on the 2 seed, whoever it may be, doesn't have the same appeal to me.
Well, also, they are not an aesthetically pleasing team. I mean, they have the sex appeal right now of their head coach. I mean, they really do. Their offense is kind of like his demeanor at the Wednesday press conference that he has to greet the Boston media. All right, get this over with. Any questions? I mean, that's kind of the appeal of their offense right there. Yeah, I'll do this. We'll be effective. I'll say a bunch of things without saying anything. I mean, they must have ran 12 screens last night. You combine that with about 8 draws, and I really thought I was watching like 1970s high school football. Where's Butch Woolfolk? Where's Archie Griffin? That's what I was wondering. Let's
Yeah, I think Jones has the same thoughts that you do about the offense that they're running right now, no matter how he acted after the game.
I was going to say, threw the ball downfield 3 times, made 3 big plays. I mean, you can see where he'd go to the sidelines and go, hey, what do you say we throw it downfield more, huh? Crazy suggestion. But if we were doing a show in Boston today, we'd be celebrating the win, but we'd be asking things like, compare the Patriots offense, sex appeal of Patriots offense, go. Like someone in our Twitch chat room, our buddy Jim Science said they have the sex appeal of Ruth Buzzy. There's a 70s reference for you. Look at Felipe, look it up. Ruth Buzzy. Hello.
And when you find it, save it for me.
So, all right, 13 weeks in the books. Everybody's done with their bye week. We got 4 weeks left, 4 games. Let's go. Let's go. By the way, huge news. I don't know if it's out there, but I got a little scoop last night. The Fox A team is going to Jacksonville. Burkhart and Olsen are going to Jacksonville this week for Cowboys at Jags.
Anything to get the Cowboys on.
Well, they took a look at the slate of games and said, well, we can always put the Cowboys on. They're pretty good for ratings.
They rate.
So, plus you got 3 games on Thursday, or not Thursday, Saturday. So you got a Thursday game. You got 3 on Saturday. There's 4. We got a game, Monday Night Football. That's 5. I mean, you only got 11 other games to choose from. Half of them they don't have. So they're taking a look at what's available. And they're like, all right. We can go to Jacksonville, I guess. Anybody know how to get there?
Good luck finding flights, everyone. That's all we'll tell you.
So, I don't know. When do you think the last time, like for the longest time, it was Joe and Troy, and obviously now it was Nance and Sims, now it's Nance and Romo. When is the last time the A team showed up?
What year was the Super Bowl in Jacksonville?
It was the 2004 season. So
I'm going to go 2004.
So it was January 05 that game took place. And Thursday night games don't count. The Thursday night games do not count. All right, no. Besides, the couple of Thursday night games we did, remember, Mark, it'd be early in the season. It wasn't even good enough to put on Fox. They put it on the NFL Network.
Right, that's what they would do. They'd give you a Jacksonville, Tennessee game on the NFL Network. That was typically the game we would get out of Jacksonville.
Right. We're trying to limit the damage as much as we can. So I think that'll get announced later today. Burkhart and Olsen, the A team for Fox, is going to Jacksonville. One of the crew members for the broadcast lives in Phoenix. He made his way to the booth last night. We were catching up. So there you go.
Wow. That says something about what the NFL slate's going to be like this week, which means it'll probably deliver going away. When it looks terrible, that's when it delivers more times than not.
So Trevor Lawrence and the boys, get ready for the big time. Yep. You got a production meeting with announcers that people have heard of. Yeah. That's the first step in the process, Mark.
Well, that really is. If Trevor's seeing these guys a couple more times next year, then things are going really, really well, David.
Got that right. Next year, he'll look at him and go, where the hell's Nance and Romo?
We don't have Nance and Romo today, but we do have Pat Kirwan and David Samson on the show.
That'll work.
Starting 5 and 25 minutes or so on a Tuesday. Thanks for waking up with us. Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Was in New England, though, Taylor. Wasn't in Jacksonville, was it? Did the Jags have a home game when they made their run to the AFC Championship?
Yes, first round playoff game they hosted Buffalo, and that was Nance and Romo. Was Romo's first playoff game.
All right, there you go.
There's the answer.
Taylor, you got the right year, wrong game, but you're right. The way to go.
Ooh, Adam, that's a great question. Does the dog collar make an appearance? I don't know if it's 1 o'clock or 4:25. I don't know what it's a 1 o'clock game.
Yeah.
So then CBS must have the 4:25 slot this week.
Yeah, because the Fox game of the week was Brady at
Oh, right, that they switched away from in the third quarter.
right.
Second time in 3 weeks that Fox switched away from their A crew in the 4:25 game because it sucked so bad. Oh, now they're calling 4 to 7 inches of snow Saturday night in Buffalo. There you go. There you go. Why do you think this whole home field advantage thing might be a big deal? It's remarkable. 7 of the 8 teams in the Eastern divisions would make the playoffs right now. Half of the playoff teams.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. FloridaSportsNetwork.com. David Samson, a little more than an hour. Pat Kirwan at the top of our 8 o'clock hour. I come at you from Phoenix. Patriots beat the Cardinals last night. And I never, Mark, give anybody a hard time if they don't watch the product that, I happen to be a pimple on the back of life working on. But let me tell you, I think I should ask people, when did you turn away last night? Because, man, that was tough to watch. Man, that was not entertaining at all.
It was not the NFL's best product.
Whew.
I had a plan to not have to put the broadcast on until around halftime because I was taking in a little hockey. Your Rangers were playing the Devils in what was a really fun early season NHL game. 2 fun teams to watch. So I locked into that for the first couple of periods and then switched over. And probably made a mistake by doing so because the one game was 4-3 in overtime and the other game was, dreadful.
I was going to say, how quickly did you switch back to the Heat and the Pacers?
That's a tough watch. Don't kid yourself. That is, woo.
Yeah.
Good win for the Heat. I mean, got to take the W when it's there. But
right. That was Riley's Heat from the late 90s, early 2000s right there.
Oof.
That was pre-Dwayne Wade Heat Pacers. Whew, man.
But, yeah, there was a little flipping going on around last night. And as you mentioned, we're lapdogs to the football. So
Sure.
inevitably we come back.
Uh-huh.
And then we ask ourselves sometimes why.
What am I doing? What am I doing? Are my eyes really open? Do you realize what you're watching here?
Problem is both the Heat and that hockey game I were watching started at 7. They had to end at some point, and the football was still going on, David.
And you weren't ready to go to bed. Right. I understand. Hey, they're calling for about 6 inches of snow Saturday night in Buffalo. Want to know why this whole home field advantage thing in the AFC might be a big deal? This is December, Buffalo. January's worse.
Certainly should be colder, there's no doubt.
So, Miami, good luck with that 2-game losing streak. Heading where you have to head. Mm-hmm.
And they're still honked off after running 90 plays and losing to you the last time that they played you.
Exactly. Like, what didn't one of their wide receivers, wasn't it Diggs, who got caught on tape 2 games ago saying, I want the Dolphins. Give me the Dolphins. Because at the time they were like tied with them. So we'll say it's been a while since other teams in that division were paying attention to you. You can look at the bright side.
And if Diggs doesn't get the ball early, he can diva it up. He did a little bit. He was in diva mode against the Jets a little bit. Didn't like the way things were running.
Mm-hmm.
Walked off the field after a screen pass. So
yep.
He has the diva gene in him, David.
It's my kind of guy right there, Mark. That's my kind of player. If we were in the front office, we got to take him higher. No. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. He's got diva written all over him. Come on. We got to move him up around. Should we pay him? Yes. Absolutely. You need a diva in that room.
You would run into trouble when it comes to signing. You would overpay the diva and then wonder why you weren't getting the production out of the diva after you did so.
Yeah, I know. But, man, we'd have great conversations. All right, meet up with him after practice. All right.
You'd win some press conferences, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I can live with my diva wide receiver because once again, I'm signing them for January and February. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. When you're facing good teams who usually have a decent corner, and so you got to have somebody better. But do you think that the Dolphins just melt in the snow, by the way? Like, just if you're a Dolphin fan right now and you hear they're talking cold 6 inches of snow Saturday night in Buffalo, do you just automatically go, well, hell, we should just stay home?
I don't, because they've lost 2 in a row. I think the effort I don't think they win. I'll pick the Bills to win the game, but I think the Dolphins are going to give a hell of an effort. This is 2 clunkers in a row. I can't see 3 clunkers in a row. Snow, no snow, wind, rain, whatever the case may be, David. I just watched this team play all year. I don't see 3 clunkers in a row.
So you think they're like the post office, Mark? They just see the elements and everybody puts their boots on and go, it's just going to be a tougher day at the office, men. I know the post office is one of your favorites. That's why I went there pre-6:30.
Right. And remember that their post office still has a Florida zip code.
That is true. That is true. It's easy to get that letter to Atlanta. It's just getting it from the big office in Atlanta north of the Mason-Dixon line, right? That's where it hits the weather. Hey, Bills fans, here's the good news, though. You're going to spend about $1.5 billion for a new stadium, and it's not going to protect you from these elements either.
I don't think they want it.
I don't think they do either.
I really don't.
That was the big gripe from the league when they built MetLife in Jersey for the Giants and Jets. And the league's like, we'd really like to have a Super Bowl here. And the Giants especially were like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. We're a team in the Northeast. One of the great wins in franchise history was a wind-blown NFC Championship game against the then Redskins, where fielding a punt was considered worthy of like the Medal of Freedom. All right, that's how we play.
And the Bills fans, more so than even the Bills players, I think would be completely distraught if they took away what they believe is their great advantage at home.
In fact, they might be a little angry about it, though, because they're like, man, the snow could soften the blow when we dive on these tables.
And it's not like Buffalo's getting a Super Bowl no matter what they build there.
Yeah.
Those days have passed. The Jacksonville experiment ended any of the smaller market NFL teams from hosting Super Bowls, David.
I will say, from a hotel standpoint, that would have been a tough one.
Where are you going to put the cruise ships in Buffalo in February?
People be commuting in from Rochester. Where are you staying? Rochester? How far is that? Almost an hour east. So
To stay at the Super 8 in Rochester.
got that right. Listen, while you're here, the Amerks are playing. They're an AHL team. They put forth a good product.
But I think the Dolphins give a really good effort. I don't think they're going to beat Buffalo because I don't think they're as good as Buffalo.
You probably missed the highlight last night early in the broadcast. Apparently yesterday was the 40th anniversary of the snowplow game between the Dolphins and the Patriots, when Ron Meyer ordered the guy to come out there with the snowplow and plow a nice little area so his field goal kicker could score the only points of the game in the fourth quarter, 3-0. Don Shula had complained till damn near his dying day about it. He just thought it was cheating at the highest level. It was 40 years ago yesterday.
And it was cheating at the highest level.
Yeah. Got a little something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wait, what are we doing? We're calling an audible. What's the play? Get the snowplow out there.
Miller and Moulton, the starting five, coming up on the other side, catching you up with everything that you may have missed from yesterday right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Guy on Twitter I started following coached Lehigh football. He retired yesterday, or
Cheney, right?
yeah, he seemed to be a pretty solid. Seems to be a pretty solid dude. The way he cares about. I mean, just the way he cares about kids and tweets and stuff like that.
Yep.
He was a pretty good follow on Twitter.
It's a tough blow for Lehigh.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know what he's going to do. He wasn't there that long. He was only there 8 years.
Oh yeah, KW, trust me. We're well aware of what Monday night's going to be like in Green Bay.
I can assure you I won't be watching any of that game.
Baker Mayfield? And Aaron Rodgers? That's an open booth, too, just so you know. There's nothing about that booth that is closed.
You guys put heaters in there?
Uh-huh. Yep. You know who the heaters are on?
Joe and Troy?
Right.
Could be.
I know. I have to check.
Do you own gloves?
No.
Will you be buying gloves?
No.
Huh. Can you find a skull cap big enough?
That's a fair question, by the way. That is not you being a blank. That, ladies and gentlemen, that is a fair question.
Because I've got a pretty big melon, and I'm not in your league, and I know my Estero CC skull cap that I wear for the one golf tournament a year that it's too cold is, snug on me.
Here's the problem. The one jacket that I have that is probably right for those elements is a New York Giants jacket. I mean, can I really wear that?
No.
I don't think I can. So this is going to be...
I might find a Columbia outlet and get yourself a warm jacket. Because they're not that big anymore, if you know what I mean. They're not that bulky. Does your wife knit?
No, neither one of us married our wives for their knitting.
30 seconds.
Think about it. What a good Monday night game they thought they had. Rams at Packers. One of the better games on their schedule.
Totally. Those two teams last year won 25 regular season games. This year they've won 9.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Top of the morning to you. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson joins us 1 hour from now. Pat Kirwan in a little over an hour as we look back on Week 14. And, well, we're past the three-quarter pole, ladies and gentlemen, of the NFL regular season. It ended last night with a game here in Phoenix. Time now for...
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Fighting with the computer, are we this morning?
What are you talking about?
Patriots scored the final 20 points of the game. That always helps. They beat Arizona 27-13 to improve to 7-6 on the season. Cardinals fall to 4-9, and worse than that, Kyler Murray blew out his right knee, a torn ACL. The Cardinals haven't officially said that, although they've had a few people out of the side of their mouths tell certain members of the media that, who have been reporting it. They'll make it official later today. A third play of the game, by the way. There's been a lot of talk this year, Mark, about, the players and they want turf. That's a grass field. I know it's indoors, but remember, the Cardinals are the one, they slide in the field on a big tray, and then they remove it and bring in a new tray of grass. That's a grass field that he blew out his knee on non-contact. So, it can happen on grass is what I'm trying to say. One other NFL note, Cowboys add wide receiver T.Y. Hilton. He hasn't played at all this year. He is 33 years of age.
Well, we all knew that the Cowboys were going to add an old receiver.
Right. And Jarrah's saying, I still could sign OBJ. Okay. All right. We believe you. Mm-hmm. Mike Leach, unfortunately, remains in very critical condition in a Jackson, Mississippi hospital. The 61-year-old Mississippi State head coach reportedly suffered a massive heart attack, and it took 10 to 15 minutes before he got any medical care. Transfer portal continues. A couple of names that may interest you. Coastal Carolina quarterback Grayson McCall. If you've watched a little football in the last 3 years, good little college player. Thank you very much. Be curious to see where he goes. And remember Emory Jones? He went to Arizona State, was the starter for the first part of the year, lost his job in the second part of the year. So he's now graduated and he's transferring. To baseball, Toronto signed righty Chris Bassett. He's your classic number 3 starter. He'll turn 34 shortly after the new year. Signed a 3-year deal worth $23 million a year. Twins signed catcher Christian Vasquez to a 3-year, $30 million deal. He was considered the second best catcher out there. The first best catcher, if you will, Sean Murphy, he was traded, Mark, from the A's to the Braves.
This is your kind of trade.
Yes.
They got to get 3 teams involved and work as many players as they can in different directions as humanly possible. And the Braves get 1 out of what was 9 players total in this trade.
They get the best player in the deal. There's no question about it. A Gold Glove catcher who last year hit around 250 with 20 homers. There aren't many guys who can do that anymore in Major League Baseball. They had a couple catchers, so they sent one of them, William Contreras, to the Brewers as part of the 9-team deal. It was Oakland, Milwaukee, and Atlanta. By the way, Murphy, not a free agent for 3 years. So the Braves will have him for his 3 arbitration years. So that team is young and signed, sealed, and delivered for the next 3-4 years. I mean, they have done a magnificent job in Atlanta building this second run, if you will. NBA last night, Heat got 22.17 rebounds from Bam, 20 points from Jimmy Butler, including 7 in a row late in the game. It was old time. You know how you have old time hockey? Is this old school basketball?
It definitely was, but not the kind that most people like.
87-82 Heat over the Pacers. Clippers beat up on Boston last night.
Whooped them.
This is the Clippers team that Vegas made the preseason betting favorite to win the NBA championship because Paul George scored 26 and Kawhi Leonard had 25 points and 9 rebounds. This Clippers team beat Boston by 20, 113-93. Just the 7th loss of the season for the Celtics. Brooklyn got 30 from KD in a 112-100 win over Washington. Detroit announced that Cade Cunningham is going to have season-ending left shin surgery. You don't hear about that type of injury very often.
No, and you have to pronounce it very carefully as well.
And especially at this hour. When
I agree. I thought that was a very nice job by you.
Thank you, because not everything is, working properly. The wires aren't all touching. Yes, that could have gone badly.
Right.
Left shin surgery. College hoops, a story that was developing during the latter part of our show yesterday. Texas men's basketball coach Chris Beard arrested a third-degree felony for domestic violence. He was immediately suspended indefinitely without pay by Texas, who had a game last night. And he barely was released from custody before the game tipped off. Longhorns needed overtime at home to beat Rice by 6. Mark, did you see the clause that is in Chris Beard's contract? It's 2 sentences, very small clause, but it very clearly states, the whole, if you bring harm and ill repute on the university, but if you get arrested for a felony, we can fire you and not have to pay you ever again. It says it right there. And this is, remember, a third-degree felony that he was charged with. His lawyer screaming bloody murder.
Right. Said he should have never been arrested.
And, claimed that he was not the guilty party here. So we shall see. I'm very serious for a second. He gets fired from Texas, which right now I think we're all betting that that's what's going to happen. I mean, think about what has to happen for Texas to stand by him. I mean, it almost has to be a false arrest, right?
100%.
I mean, because if she decides not to press charges and they end up having to drop him because she won't testify against him, that's not going to clear him enough in the eyes of public opinion so that Texas can keep him, right?
I don't believe so.
And they got the clause in the contract right there that says, we don't have to keep this guy and we don't have to pay him.
Yeah, but if the charges go away, they would probably have to pay him.
I don't know. You read that clause again. I think it's just arrested.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, okay. I think he's already violated the clause which allows them to walk away and, not have to pay him a dime. And for what it's worth, he's making over $5 million a year. And I know Texas has it, but I mean, if you don't have to spend it, you don't have to spend it. But also, going to stay serious for one more moment. Is he hireable ever again, anywhere?
I think the only job he could ever had would be a scout, David.
Like professional scout?
Yes.
Because imagine you're the AD and you got to hold that press conference. That's a tough one. Of all the people you could choose, you chose him. Really? Care to explain? Just saying. South Florida has won 4 out of 5. Good for Brian Gregory and the Bulls. They beat Northern Iowa on the road last night, 72-69. Women's basketball, FAMU in overtime by 2 over Tuskegee. NHL, Rangers scored 2 goals in 7 seconds. Rallied from a deficit, forced overtime, beat the Devils 4-3. Montreal in a shootout over Calgary 2-1. Pittsburgh by that same score over Dallas. Malkin scored with 35 seconds left to win it. That game, by the way, looked like a playoff game, is what they said, in terms of the intensity and what have you. Ottawa shut out Anaheim 3-0. Minnesota edged Edmonton 2-1. And the Blues in overtime 1-0 over Nashville. NCAA men's soccer last night, Mark. 2-2 in regulation and overtime. They go to penalty kicks. 7th round of penalty kicks. Indiana misses. Syracuse buries the biscuit. Syracuse wins the national championship. 2-2 with an asterisk.
NCAA soccer. That was the third story on Sports Center this morning. And then you give it to me here on our Sports Center.
Well, we did the women's one last week. with UCLA upsetting North Carolina. I'm just being fair.
That was not a bogus goal.
Yes, to tie it up in overtime. Yes, never should have gone or tied up in regulation before losing in overtime, North Carolina. But also, Mark, I mentioned it because, my days of being the local sports guy, NCAA soccer leads into what, Mark? Coming up later today at noon on Fox, it's your first World Cup semifinal. It's Argentina and Croatia. Can Messi and the boys get it done on the pitch so that they're playing for the World Cup title? The only thing that has eluded one of the all-time greats. Noon on Fox today. France and Morocco, noon on Fox tomorrow. I got noon. Oh, I'm sorry. My phone says noon. You know why?
Yeah, because you're in a different time zone.
Right. It's 2:00.
Bingo.
Thanks for correcting me. 2:00 today. See, I poured out the local sports guy voice and I screwed it up. Just like I was back in local sports. I screwed it up then. I'm screwing it up.
Yeah, we're not using this resume tape.
No. Oh, well. Mark, when I'd put together a really good show at 6:00 and I'd screw it up, it's like, well, we got to recycle this sucker and nail it at 11. I got to put this tape in the mail. 2:00 today, ladies and gentlemen, Argentina and Croatia. And that was
the starting five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Listen, I can't get mad at Felipe for being a little slow on the trigger there. I don't even know what time the games are being played. So if I don't know what time
some mornings.
Exactly. So I was going to say, you're looking at me going 2:00, and I'm like, the hell it is. My phone says noon. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm in Phoenix. Blank.
Noon Mountain Time.
Right.
For those paying attention. Noon Mountain Time, Argentina and Croatia.
So there you have it. Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. David Samson in about 45 minutes. Pat Kirwan in a little more than an hour.
Yesterday we spent a decent amount of time talking about the Eagles. And obviously the AFC is a lot more stacked than the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when we come back, we need to start diving in on these Eagles. Who have they beat? What have they've impressed us with wins. But is it all there?
So you're trying to say they haven't beaten anybody?
Not anyone. We poke all kinds of holes in the Vikings for not having beat anyone. Outside of the Vikings and a Cowboy team with Cooper Rush as the quarterback, the Eagles have a similar type of. Now, they haven't lost anybody. They've lost one game all year. And that in and of itself is very impressive. But we will find out. We will find out.
So now you're poking holes in 12-1, are you?
I'm not poking holes. I am merely pointing out the wins.
Fair enough.
If you were to look at the Eagles' best win, I guess it would be the Minnesota Vikings, or are we going to say the Cooper Rush-led Dallas Cowboys?
Oh, and you're hitting me where I live. You know where I was on that Cooper Rush bandwagon.
Miller and Moulton. A little NFC talk on the other side. David Samson, about 40 minutes away. Pat Kirwan in the 8 o'clock hour right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
And Mark, when you're done with the Eagles, I have a small point I just want to make about things we need to remember next year and what have you.
Oh, sure. I was just looking to get through a segment.
Mm-hmm.
I have not heard anything about Tatis to the Yankees, Axe. Have you, David?
They hinted 3 days ago they were working on something big. And that was it. And I don't think any of the people left in free agency, I mean, Carlos Correa, I mean, is that big enough? You know, Rodon, the lefty pitcher, is that big enough? GC, I don't see how you can keep the coach. First off, a lot of people questioned his tactics to begin with. And secondly, I thought Reyna made a good point in which even if he's the bad guy, Reyna said, kind of thought this was going to stay in-house.
That's the reason he's done as coach. You can't be the coach leaking this out. Can't. or manager or whatever the hell we want to call him. But DC, you've never heard Belichick do something like that. That's why you don't have success doing that. You can't sabotage a locker room when you're the head coach. No one on that team can trust him again.
40 seconds.
He was at like a symposium,
Right?
and he thought it was off the record. Well, first off, he's telling it to a group of people. I mean, keeping it in the locker room means it stays in the locker room.
20
I
seconds.
mean, you just have to for the rest of your life when people go, why didn't you play Reina? And you go, that's between me, Reina, and the team. That's it.
Yeah, because at that you're hinting at it, but you're not saying anything.
Nope.
5 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I wake up in Phoenix after the Patriots took care of the Cardinals, scoring the last 20 points of the game. Arizona, that franchise in trouble now. Kyler Murray, if you missed it, third play of the game, he blew out his right knee. Cardinals will make it official later today. And, I mean, heck, will he ever be the same player again? Never mind how long it'll take him to come back. I mean, his status for next year and how much of it is at the very least in doubt. But Patriots get the win. They're 7-6. And they are technically the final playoff team right now, but they are in a 3-way tie for the final playoff spot in the AFC.
All right. I hate being the guy to do this because I do like to be a little more positive with teams than negative. But yesterday, I was thinking about this after the show. You said, and I don't think you're wrong, that you have the most faith out of the top teams in the league in the Eagles. They're 12-1. There's not the type of, there's not 3 great teams in the NFC.
Right. Like, when you asked that question, and I said, well, we got 3 teams in the AFC, and you're probably going to have to beat 2 of them. That's why it could be a really big deal to be the 1 seed. You may only have to beat 1 of them to go to the Super Bowl, and you'll get that game at home. And that's also my thought with Philadelphia. It's like, wow, they're probably going to have 1 tough game.
And that would work out well for Philadelphia because they haven't had many tough games this year. They've won all but 1 of their games. But when you look at what's their best win, is it the Titans at the beginning of December? I mean, they whipped Tennessee 35-10.
Well, that is important to note. They didn't just win. They won by 25.
Because if not, you look through the Vikings that they whooped up on week 2.
Yeah. I mean, that game wasn't even as close as, what was it, a 17-point margin?
And it was never seemed to be that close. That was a big brother, little brother. Let me put my hand on your head. You can swing all you want, but you're never, ever going to hit me.
Yes. I mean, we were lucky enough to be there. When we left the stadium that night, that game felt like 38-7 instead of, what was it, 24-7?
Yes.
Yeah. I toyed with them.
But they've beaten the Lions and the Jags and the Cardinals. I'm just trying. I mean, they just get by the Packers a couple of weeks ago. The Titans win to me is their most impressive win because beating down the Giants last week did nothing for me. The Giants are a bad football team.
Well,
and I'm just wondering.
You and I have been saying that for a while. Okay, so if you're just hearing that for the first time, just so you know, we started saying that 6 weeks ago when they were 7-2.
And other than Christmas Eve, we won't find out until the postseason because they play at Dallas on Christmas Eve. They play at the Bears this week. They've got games at home against the Saints and the Giants to finish the season out. It's not their fault they didn't play a tough schedule. I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying, but it's the 12-1 isn't that much different than what the Vikings have done up until losing to the Lions.
All right. Can I challenge your kind of game within the game here?
Sure.
Take a look at how many of those wins, though, were double-digit wins. I mean, that's the other thing that the Eagles are doing. In a league in which, and we have documented this all season long, the number of one-score games. How many two-score wins do the Eagles have?
Eight.
That's pretty good. 8 out of 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, and I will say, and listen, Tennessee's not at the best part of their season, and the Giants are, frauds.
Because the 2 weeks before that, they beat the Colts by 1.
Yes.
And the Packers by a score.
Correct. They kind of had the Packers Heismaned. That was, if you watch the game, it was a 7 to 14 point game seemingly throughout.
Right, and they probably should have lost to the Colts.
Yes. Now, that was a sinker. There's no doubt. The game that they lost to Washington, all right, they deserved to lose that game, and they should have lost at Indianapolis. No question about it.
But they found themselves in the last couple of weeks here. I mean, the game against the Titans, I think, was the perfect schedule time for them. They'd played a bad game against the Colts. They'd lost to Washington. They'd beaten Green Bay, but didn't play great defense in that game. And then they get the Titans, the A.J. Brown revenge game. That got them fired up, and they beat them down incredibly easily.
The irony is in the NFC, being the 1 seed could be the wrong spot. Because Dallas is the 5 right now. And the second place team in the NFC East is going to be the 5 seed. Well, and just work with me here for 10 seconds. So the 1 seed gets the bye, 2 plays 7, 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5. Well, right now, the entire NFC East makes the playoffs. So that means Minnesota at the 2 and San Francisco at the 3 are going to play the 3rd and 4th place teams from the NFC East, Washington and the Giants. Well, nobody thinks the Giants right now could go on the road and beat Minnesota or San Francisco in a playoff game. And not much is going to change between now and the playoffs either. I mean, it's not like all of a sudden a wide receiving core is going to show up. All right, they're only going to get 1 cornerback back, and the offensive line's not going to get above average, and they only have Saquon Barkley.
And if Seattle sneaks in there, they can't stop anybody from running the ball down their throat whenever they want to. And it is, after all, Geno Smith, who's had a really nice season. But you're dealing with Washington, New York, and Seattle.
Now, maybe Washington. I mean, Washington did go into Philly and win. Washington, after a 1-4 start, more on that later, is now, 6-1-1 in their last 8, including a win in Philadelphia, and no one else has done that this year. So maybe Washington is the one wild card, Mark, that you think maybe. But I expect Washington to be the 6, which will be bad news for them because that means they're probably going to get the Niners. Because let's be honest, you'd much rather have the Vikings. So my point is, there's a good chance that in the NFC, the 2 and the 3 seeds are going to win. which means when Dallas beats the winner of the NFC South in the 4-5 matchup, the 1, 2, 3, and 5 seeds will have advanced. The NFL reseeds. The Eagles would get the Cowboys in the divisional round, and then in theory, get the Niners in the NFC Championship game, since everybody's discounting the Vikings. So the irony is, if you think there are 3 teams in the NFC, Philadelphia, by being the best team in the NFC, right now looks as if the way the draw is going to go, the odds are they're going to have to beat them both to get through to the Super Bowl.
Whereas the 1 seed in the AFC, you think the 2 and 3 are going to have to play each other, which is going to be some combination of Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati, and the odd one out gets the 1 seed, and 2 and 3 will have to battle one another.
So Philly may have the better record, but the tougher draw. Looking at, because if you look at the AFC, I don't know. I mean, do you think of Miami or a Jets or a Chargers or is now maybe Baltimore if they fall to the 5?
Well, what if Baltimore somehow manages to win the division? Buffalo gets Cincinnati, and Baltimore, because Cincinnati struggled early in the season with divisional play, if that thing ends up tied, Baltimore could have the tiebreaker there. Cincinnati could be a real live 5 again.
They could be like the Cowboys in the NFC. The Bengals could be the 5, and it'd be like, oh, great. This is fantastic. If you like, say the Bills get home field advantage. Wait a minute. You mean our reward is we get Burrow and the Bengals? Okay. And then we get Mahomes? Wow, this sounds easy. No wonder winning the Super Bowl thing's really hard. So there you have it. Point I'd like to make. Washington started 1-4. Look at where they are now. San Francisco was 3-4. They've won 6 straight. Cincinnati was 4-4. They've won 5 straight. Never mind what Detroit's doing here. Winners of 5 of 6 and getting themselves very much back in the mix. Go back just a year ago. Eagles were 2-5. Made the playoffs with a winning record. Niners were 3-5, 6 minutes from the Super Bowl. It is possible to get up off the deck in the NFL. It's the only point I'm trying to make, that, your team gets off to a 2-4, 3-4, 3-5, 2-5 start. Washington 1-4, 6-1-1 in their last 8. With Taylor Heineke, they're 6-1-1 in their last 8. So it's possible. It's why we keep doing the math on this show. Like a Packers fan in our Twitch chat room. Packers can't win the North. Packers can run the table and get to 9-8 and take their chances in a tiebreaker.
Maybe, just maybe, that tie will doom, I think, a lot of teams at 9-8, because I think a 9-7-1 will be the difference of getting in and not getting in the NFC.
And that's why this week's Giants-Commanders game, I think, Mark, you can make the proclamation the winner of the game is in the playoffs.
I agree 100%.
Because they'll have 8 wins and a tie, and seemingly the only way they'll miss the playoffs is if they lose out. And no one thinks Washington's going to lose out. The Giants, got Minnesota and Philly as 2 of those 3 games. It's possible.
It's very possible. It's why it's so big for the Giants. Washington can still figure out a way if they lose. The Giants, almost impossible if they lose. David Samson coming up in 25 minutes. Pat Kirwan, top of the 8 o'clock hour. Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. All right, snurfing, bumper ski. I always call it skitching. We called it skitching a ride where we were from, but I'm very familiar with it. I do have some strength of schedule numbers here.
Yeah. Sure.
It proves my point, but also there are teams that are playing worse schedules that are good. Both Kansas City and San Francisco have played worse schedules than Philadelphia.
Well, also Philly strength of schedule benefits by everyone in their division as a winning record.
But Philly's strength of schedule is 4-7-5, believe it or not. Whereas Buffalo and Cincy of the playoff teams have the best of the high-end playoff teams. I guess Washington and the Giants, even Miami is really good. But Kansas City, San Francisco's is the worst. 4-2-3 for what it's worth.
Well, this is right up Pat's alley. Pat he figured out every team's record against like the good teams that are in legit playoff contention, which basically means a winning record. You have 17 teams right now in the NFL with a winning record, 9 in the AFC, 8 in the NFC.
$35. Mark, I went with the other one.
Football? Smart.
It was because I forget that Harlan does the Westwood One call. And you know how good he is. $10.
Is that a yawn?
No, it was a stretch.
Okay, gotcha.
Here you go.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
$21 past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson to join us in a little more than 15 minutes' time. Pat Kirwan, all things NFL, as we got through week 14 of the season last night with the Patriots win here in Phoenix over the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, likely blown ACL on his right knee. Not only done for the year, one has to wonder when he'll be available next year. Joe Burrow suffered that blown ACL during his first season, and he made it back for opening day last year, although it was pretty clear he was not 100%. But we all know how that season turned out. So, but future of the organization, I mean, $200-something million extension, 75% of it guaranteed. Heck, it hasn't even kicked in yet. He signed through 2028. I don't even think it kicks in next year, Mark. I think next year's his option year of his rookie deal.
Then it kicks in.
Right. Then they're making a commitment.
Wow.
Exactly.
When you bring it up that way, David, it really seems like it's going well.
It seems like they're married to this guy.
They're 4-9.
Uh-huh.
Do they win another game the rest of this year?
I don't know their schedule offhand, but they're not a good team.
Right. That means
offensive
Kingsbury's probably going to get, maybe he survives because the quarterback got hurt, but I doubt it.
I will say they are ravaged by injuries, but a lot of teams are, but they are ravaged. And where are they ravaged? Offensive line. And nothing makes you look more inept in this league if you can't block. I mean, next to a quarterback, is there any? We've come to the determination there's nothing. The second most important thing is a legit number one receiver. But then do you have to spend the rest of your resources on your offensive line? Does number 3, A, B, C, D, E have to be your offensive line?
It certainly helps because what's going on in Detroit right now? Why is it going on? Why does Jared Goff look like he's this good quarterback again? Because he's got all kinds of time back there. This just in. The Detroit Lions offensive line's really good.
Early in the season, you just went through the Eagles' schedule last segment, like who have they beaten? I believe very early in the year, maybe it was week 1, but very early in the year, Philly went to Detroit.
Won by 3.
Mark Schlereth did the game with Adam Amin for Fox. Mark Schlereth, who knows a little something about offensive line play, said, you guys may not believe this, but I watch a lot of tape. These are the 2 best offensive lines in the NFL. Now, of course, he said something good about the Detroit Lions. So, of course, he's going to get mocked. But he stood by it. He's like, I haven't seen anything better on tape than these 2 lines. Doesn't mean they'll be the 2 best teams or anything like that. He just said, you're asking me about offensive lines. These are the 2 best I've seen on tape. Okay.
So the Eagles, just to finish what we were doing last segment, their winning percentage of their opponents is .475. 47.5% winning percentage of their opponents. I will say San Francisco's is just above 42%. That's the worst of the playoff teams in the NFC.
And you wonder how much is Philly helped by every division games, a game against a team with a winning record. And for the Niners, I mean, Seattle's in second, a game above 500. And then you got the Rams and the Cardinals, who are both 4-9. So that hurts.
And Kansas City at 44%, the worst in the AFC, just in the for what it's worth category of teams' strength of schedule and what they're playing up against this year as we start getting towards the end of the regular season.
I think the Chiefs also hurt by Raiders are 5-8, Broncos are 3-10. So you throw those games in, even though they still have 1 game left with the Raiders. I actually think the Chiefs went to Frisco, whooped them by 3 touchdowns. Chiefs went to Cincy and lost a close one. Chiefs lost a close one at home to Buffalo. But there's a lot of bad teams out there, Mark.
There are.
There's
not a lot of average this year.
No. So, you could see where you get the wrong batch of teams. It could really hurt your winning percentage of opponents.
Miller and Moulton. Text line is open. It's 21,000-21-000. Any comments you may have about the show, you can always go there, or you can go to twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton, where you can watch the show and comment as you would like as it goes on. Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K, David. Felipe, what do you got for us today?
Well, like you guys have said, it was a pretty boring game last night, but there was one highlight that ended up taking the Pats over the edge, and it was this scoop and score by Raekwon McMillan.
Cardinal 18, 1st and 10, shotgun snap to McCoy. Here's a shallow crossing pattern. It was caught by Hopkins. Hit at the 20, dropped the ball, picked up 15, 10, 5, touchdown, grabbed and taken in by Raekwon McMillan. Hopkins fumbled the ball on the sideline on a shallow cross. McMillan vacuums it in, takes it the other way. New England has scored a defensive touchdown to take the lead. 5.5 to play in the third. What a play.
I know that Hopkins fumble cost someone a chance at the fantasy playoffs. That was tough.
DeAndre Hopkins last night, not clutch with a K.
That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka. Check them out, clutchspirits.com. Hashtag all your drinks with hashtag Clutch Spirits. And check them out at Seaside and Bonita for the Dolphin watch parties, the Bloody Mary bar. But by the time the night game comes this time, you'll probably want to move on to maybe just a vodka rocks, just a clutch on the rocks, and be clutch with the Dolphins this weekend. Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network. David Samson coming up in about 10 minutes' time. Pat Kirwan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour.
And with the way that Tua's played the last 2 weeks, I mean, you could see where you would make Clutch Vodka your friend. And with the prospect of 6 inches of snow and Saturday night, oh yeah, and you're playing the Bills. I mean, it could be another reason maybe to make Clutch your friend. That's all we're saying. Get to know Clutch. Get to experience Clutch. Talk to Clutch. Get to know them. You may have time Saturday night. Game may not be as close as the last two were. Maybe decided early.
What are you trying to say? Are we going to hear more about this game later in the week, David? Because you seem, the way you are talking, you think the Miami Dolphins are going to get blown out on Saturday night.
I really don't like their chances, Mark. I really don't like their chances. I don't think they are built for Saturday night in Buffalo. At all. At all. I wouldn't like their chances if Tua was still playing well. I just think it's – remember when the Canes went to the Sun Bowl a few years back, and when the game started, it was sunny and like 55. And all of a sudden in the second quarter in El Paso, this storm comes through. And it's sleeting and snowing, and it's right around freezing. And the Canes players basically looked at the bench and said, what time does our flight leave? And get me the out of here. And I just think that might happen Saturday night. That's all.
Miller and Moulton. David has a feeling, and he's had it all week long. Hell, he's had it since May when he looked at this 3-game roadie. Don't kid yourself. David Samson is next. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Well, Paul, the average in the NFL would be 50%, since that would be the average.
Huh? What?
Like, from the looks of it, Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, and Chicago have played some of the toughest schedules, believe it or not. It's just the way the divisions work. Morning, David.
Good morning.
Morning.
How you guys doing?
You just record nothing personal?
No, I'm going to do it after this show.
Okay.
And you don't do hardly any editing at all. You record it and go, right?
It's right there. All the mistakes and all. Straight through, one take.
That's the way to go.
Release.
That's the way to go.
Mistakes are relatable.
Absolutely.
Starting after the new year, it's going to start to be live 3 days a week.
Oh, really?
So we're doing that. So there's definitely some changes coming.
Well, good.
Everything good on your end?
Yeah.
$30 seconds.
Although preparing for winter gets here tomorrow, apparently. 3 days of it.
Bring in the pets.
And the plants.
Felipe, did you see that comment at the bottom of the Twitch? Right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come back now.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, and on a Tuesday, this hour, that means David Samson. Former president of the Marlins, he of the daily podcast called Nothing Personal with David Samson, NPDS. You can also see his work on CBS Sports HQ. Follow him on Twitter, David, the letter P. Samson, David P. Samson. David, top of the morning to you. How are you?
I am doing well. Tuesday is my favorite day of the week.
No one says that. There was a survey done, in fact, when about every 5 years. I don't know why they do it every 5 years. I think you could do it once. But every 5 years, they ask the American public what's their favorite day of the week. And no day gets less votes than Tuesday.
I'm going to say, do people say Thursday or Saturday?
Yeah.
But
and
for me,
Sunday,
it's Tuesday.
Why, though?
Sunday's too scary because Sunday means the end of the weekend. Like the clock ticking of 60 minutes is my worst nightmare. It's the most triggering sound because it means it's time to do everything you didn't get done during the weekend and that the week is about to start.
That just reminds me of a time I couldn't ever change the channel because Dad was locked into 60 minutes and you knew better than to even ask to get that off. Hey, I'm curious. There was a big trade yesterday. Have you been involved in three-way trades? And can you just kind of help our listeners as to how difficult or how easy that can be done? Because it seems in today's world where one guy can end a trade really quickly, trying to get all these moving parts together for a three-way deal seems like it would be really difficult.
So you do it in counterparts. So what happens is you've got the A's and the Braves talking, and the A's are talking about who they want in return for Murphy, and the Braves don't have, just call them Team X, Team Y, but we'll say A's and Braves, and the Braves don't have everything that the A's want for Murphy. And the Braves say, great, who do you want? So what the A's have done is they've said for our player, when you are willing to trade someone like Murphy or you're willing to trade anyone, you look around the league and say, all right, I'd like this package of players from this team. That's easy. That's a two-way deal. Or you say, if there's going to be a trade with this team, I want some players from that team and some players from another team. So what you do is you say to the first team, go ahead and call the second team. If you can get a trade done to get that player so we can have him, then we've got the makings of a trade. So the middle team, in this case, it's the Braves, they call up the Brewers because they're on the list of players who have been received by the A's as players that the A's want from the Braves. You call the Brewers and say, hey, we need your guy. Well, what do we have to get? What do we have to get? And then the Brewers say, all right, if you want this guy, then we need those guys. So really the middle team, which is the acquiring team of the biggest asset of the trade, is the conductor. and they are doing separate trades, and that looks like a three-way when in fact there's a trade going on between the Braves and the Brewers and the Braves and the A's. So it's not as complicated as you think, as long as all the front offices have an idea of what they want, and most good front offices do.
What the Braves have done here, putting this little, 4 straight NL East titles together, and they have basically every key player signed for at least the next 3 years, if not in some cases longer. I mean, and doing it under a budget, and granted, they're spending, $180 million, but they had a new corporate owner who said to them, hey, we ain't going to be the Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox, and Mets. Got it? Figure it out. And David, it just seems as if, I don't know if any front office has done a better job in the last 3 years than the Braves.
Well, I happen to agree, but you have to wait a minute. And so I want to give you a different perspective on that, if you don't mind, which is necessity can sometimes breed not just invention, but also intelligence. So when you have a low revenue team and you have a lower payroll, and you know that you can't navigate in certain waters with certain players, there's no way the Rays, as an example, are going to make a mistake like the Rangers do with A-Rod back in the day, or that they probably just did with DeGrom, because they know that those contracts just are not within the realm of possibility. So actually, low revenue teams in a lot of ways are protected against making some of these crazy contractual mistakes. Then you talk about a corporate owner and what that means. That is someone who wants cost certainty, because they're a public company. They answer to stockholders and Wall Street analysts, none of whom actually care about winning a World Series. They care about what their stock price is, what the return is, what the level of debt is on the team, et cetera. Sort of the underlying financial fundamentals that every business should care about, but Steve Cohen doesn't care about for his Mets, but the Braves ownership does care about for the Braves. And cost certainty is what they've done when you sign guaranteed contracts, and the Rays do this too from time to time, for pre-arbitration eligible players. You have them anyway under contract. So when you get Acuna for 8 years, let's say 6 of them, he was already going to be a Brave, you're really getting 2 extra years of free agency. So those deals are not always bargains, and you can't evaluate them this early because many of those players still have to go through the arbitration system to see where they would have been had they gone year to year. But that said, the Braves have cost certainty and great young players, but they have to be right about those players for the next multiple years to keep up this streak.
You mentioned Cohen. I've got to think that he is the most hated owner in the league right now with the way he's spending money. But I would just think in New York that the Steinbrenner, that Hal's got to be going nuts, because is he forced to spend because Cohen's spending, David?
No. So George, his father, was far more reactionary. Like if Steve Cohen and George Steinbrenner were owners at the same time, what would have made me smile is watching them go at it like it were a Marvel movie, right? They would have had crazy things going on back and forth, such amazing competition. Hal Steinbrenner doesn't view the Mets that way. He never did. He views, let's try to do what we can as the Yankees, building our brand, sort of diversifying our assets, getting involved in real estate and soccer and all the other things. Steve Cohen is there to win a World Series in the first 3 to 5 years, which was his stated goal, and he's willing to do anything to buy a World Series. And baseball owners will tell you, good for him. Let him spend as much money as he can, because generally that doesn't correlate to winning that World Series. But I can tell you that there's 29 teams rooting against the Mets right now.
Isn't he doing, though, what the Dodgers did 10 years ago when that ownership group took over the Dodgers, in which they thought, our young prospects, they're not ready, and we need to buy some time, literally. And so they, for a few years, they bought their players. Now, it was when their young players they developed joined the veteran high-price guys that they started winning at an even higher level. Isn't that what Cohen is doing? He's just doing it at an obnoxious pay level that no one's ever done it at before.
Well, you say obnoxious, and I just say disparity. So the difference between the Mets and the other teams is far greater than back when the Dodgers were doing it, and the difference between the Dodgers and the other teams back then. The other big thing is the Dodgers have your guy, right? They have Andrew Friedman, who was the conductor of much of that run, and he has the ability to run a large revenue, high payroll team in the manner in which he ran a low revenue, low payroll team, just with both more margin for mistake if there's a bad signing, but also the ability to use money as a sword to try to get extra players from teams. He fleeced the Marlins so many times when we needed money, and he would get our good players. The best examples, he asked us to throw in Austin Barnes one time into a trade, and no one had heard of Austin Barnes at the time, and we thought that he would be a catcher for us, and we liked him a lot. But we weren't going to let Austin Barnes get in the way of a deal because the Dodgers were paying Dan Herron to pitch for us for a year. And so we were able to, it didn't work out, right? Because he wasn't as good as we needed him to be when we got D. Gordon and Dan Herron. But the point is, we had what could have been a great major league pitcher paid for by the Dodgers, and the price was, hey, you need to throw Austin Barnes in. And that's being a bully, because our answer was, we don't want to. And they said, fine, then you pay Dan Herron. And we said, here's Austin Barnes. And all of a sudden, Austin Barnes is a productive player for them for years. And you think about doing those deals with many other teams, and that's, if you're good, how you can be really successful.
How did the Red Sox let Bogart slip away like that?
Because he's not worth what the Padres paid him. And Chaim Bloom, again, do you see a common thread? Chaim Bloom is not going to get suckered in, nor is John Henry, into making deals that are stupid only to match that offer of another stupid team making a stupid offer. Bogarts is just not that for that period of time. So I compliment the Red Sox. Folks, it's not like the Red Sox have low payrolls. Like, I'm not sure what people are complaining about. They've delivered, 4 World Series to their fans since John Henry took over? Doesn't he deserve, and I sound like a management hack, and I'm not, doesn't he deserve the benefit of the doubt that they actually know what they're doing?
Let's see. They finished last year, and you know the attention span of most fans, especially big market fans. No. Plus, you know what Red Sox fans are saying. To Henry, they may be saying one thing, but they're looking at that GM going, yeah, you haven't done squat for us, buddy.
Well, you guys know Chaim Bloom.
Yeah.
Don't you? He doesn't do squat. He's brilliant. He knows exactly what he's doing. When you limit your mistakes and this is so important in baseball. What agents count on is owners being desperate and egomaniacal and also insecure. So what they count on is if there's a Peter Seidler in San Diego who's willing to do anything, however irrational, they want to call other teams and say, you better be like that too. Your fan base is going to be upset with you. You're going to have bad articles written about you. And the best organizations don't fall victim to that. And the Mets fall victim, the Padres fall victim, the Phillies fall victim, but the Rays never fall victim, and the Red Sox are trying to be just like that.
Will it work, and for how long will it take? I mean, they were last place last year. I mean, but how long does this rebuild take? Because in Boston, they're not patient.
But when you say rebuild, isn't a rebuild when you take your salary down, you're tanking, you get rid of everybody? Like the Oakland A's, would you say what they're doing is a rebuild?
On steroids.
Okay, and listen, I'm the number one steroid guy when it comes to rebuild, so I get exactly what that is. The Red Sox don't do that. Their payrolls don't go. They don't have the change that we did with the Marlins, that the A's have, where you're 90 one year and then 30 the next year and then 40 and then 80 and then 90 and then back down. The Boston Red Sox have a pretty consistently high payroll. Now, people argue, why aren't they the top payroll? Because they don't have the revenues anymore to be the top payroll. It's not because John Henry prefers Liverpool or wants to buy Las Vegas with LeBron James or the Suns or some other such things that people are saying. And I am not a John Henry fan by any stretch, but the misunderstanding that's going on with the Red Sox is funny to me. If you can win a World Series last place, win a World Series last place, almost win a World Series third place, back to a World Series, aren't you going to do that every day? Wouldn't that be a great plan for your franchise?
Absolutely. It seems a long time ago, but I believe it was, 2021 that the Red Sox were in the ALCS. Yes, we got about 2 minutes left quickly here. You think it'd be a good move for the Cubs to get Swanson? Dansby Swanson, by the way, for those that don't know, a Brave shortstop.
Here's the problem, Swanson. Here's the problem for teams. Swanson's value has been lifted with the rising tide of these irrational shortstop contracts. So Swanson believes that he belongs just under, right? That's why he's waiting for Correa. It's going to be under Correa and under Bogarts, right? But Swanson is just not at that level. He was a great piece for the Braves, but not the central piece, not counted on to be the main man. And what his agents are trying to do, and I get it because the market's so irrational, the exuberance is amazing, trying to get him in close to where those guys are, and that could be an extra 40, 50, or $60 million for him. Carlos Rodon is doing that for pitchers right now. He's looking at a 7 or 8 year deal from the Yankees. Totally absurd, not worth it, but in light of the other deals, that's why they're going for it.
There's a rumor coming out of New York that the Yankees are trying to acquire Fernando Tatis Jr. Do you believe it?
No, because the Yankees are smart enough to know the problem that Tatis is in San Diego. And Tatis has to prove that he can get back into a clubhouse, that he can earn back the trust of his teammates, and that he can return back to the level as an outfielder, not a shortstop, because he's so injury prone, and be productive. I don't think the Yankees under Hal Steinbrenner or Brian Cashman would do that deal. The Padres, by the way, would trade him in a nanosecond.
A year after giving him what, Mark? 13 and 340, something ridiculous like that?
That's exactly right. As a brand new player who had a great, was going to be the face of baseball, right? He was the guy. And then all of a sudden a PED suspension, all of a sudden rumblings by teammates that he's not that great in the clubhouse, all this stuff going on. And now a little rumbling that the Yankees could be interested. That is not a coincidence.
He's David Samson. The daily podcast is Nothing Personal with David Samson. You can also see him on CBS Sports HQ. Follow him on Twitter, David P. Samson, David the letter P. Samson. David, thanks so much. We always appreciate it. Have a great podcast today.
See you soon.
David Samson on Miller and Moulton. We switch gears from baseball to football. Pat Kirwan is coming up next. We'll talk all things the National Football League with Pat Kirwan from the NFL on CBS. He's next.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hello, hello.
What's up?
No, I'm just wondering if Pat had hooked in yet. Are we going to have to call Pat?
$30 seconds.
Should Felipe call Pat?
Right here.
Okay.
Sorry, I was out of the room.
10 seconds, guys.
You got me?
Yep, we got you.
We got you.
I just had to use the facilities. That's on me.
I was just sending David notes. I can hear you. I can see you guys.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it's the 8 o'clock hour on a Tuesday. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan joins us every Tuesday. Who says this is the least favorite day of the week, huh? David Samson last hour, Pat Kirwan joining us now. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains and CBS's NFL Today show. And Pat joins us twice a week during the season, courtesy of Pinchers. From Tampa to Key West and over a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Past the three-quarter pole, Pat. How you holding up?
I'm doing fine. The quarterbacks in the NFL are not doing fine. And so, I just try to run this out at the quarter pole, the three-quarter pole. And you know what we have here? Your listeners, I know that know this. 76 quarterbacks have thrown passes in games. 55 quarterbacks have started games. And only 14 quarterbacks have played all 13 games. It's a rough business out there. And last week we got another group of guys last night with Murray, and a bunch of guys are getting beat up at the position. You can write all the rules you want. Those 11 dudes on defense, and they don't care about those rules. They're trying to knock these guys out, and it's been rough on quarterbacks this year.
Pat, last night, one of the things, David works with Troy Aikman, and Troy made the comment that he thinks the hardest job is being an offensive coordinator and Patricia making the job for defense to offense. Just your thoughts on that transition and how difficult it is from being a defensive guy to try to be an offensive coordinator.
It's a whole different mindset. In defense, I was on offense as a college coach for a long time. When I got to the Jets, I landed up on the defensive staff, mainly because he wanted someone who thought like an offensive guy. But what I learned really quickly was that defensive guys live in a world of paranoia. They don't really set the pace for how the game is. The offensive guys do whatever they want, and the defensive guys have to guess what they're doing and try to react to it. And they live in a world of, well, what if they do this? Well, I heard that a million times in a defensive staff room. What if? What if? On the offensive side is like, we're going to run this. We're going to throw here. So that ability to dictate was something that Patricia never did. He was always on the other side trying to figure out what the other guys were doing. So the mindset was totally different. And I would never sell that short as an issue for a coach and a play caller. And I think Matt's a brilliant guy, and he's coming around, and he's got the support of Belichick. Belichick, you ever notice he doesn't go outside and get big name guys. He nurtures and develops his guys inside. And it looks like at least last night, it was a better run at the play calling.
Troy Aikman last night just flat out said that the quality, the product that the NFL is putting forth right now is not good. Do you agree with that?
Yes, and the fundamentals aren't very good. And if you know enough football, you can watch a game and get sick to your stomach watching the blocking. Okay, we don't have live practices. You cannot have a solid run blocking scheme unless you have 9-on-7, which is the run period. And it's a serious run. It's all run. And we don't even do it anymore if we even go out and pass. So that's a problem. The tackling has been bad for a decade. And it started with guys that could just throw their shoulder, Ronnie Lott, and knock people down. And then people started to emulate that. But the tackling's terrible. The blocking is very questionable. And I also think the coaches have to take some blame. We have way too many plays. When I see these coaches with these big play cards and they're holding it up, reading, and there's 500 plays on that thing, it's ridiculous. These are guys that can't remember that much stuff. And so now you have mental breakdowns, jumping off sides, and we'd call them the dumb penalties. And so those things, and if you see the delay of game penalties on getting plays in, those things have made the game sloppy.
Pat, I didn't really pick on the Eagles, but took a look at the Eagles and their wins this year, and that they beat the Titans, they beat the Vikings. Other than that, there's not a lot of great wins. Do you worry about a team that's 12-1 that hasn't had to go through the type of competition that maybe a Cincinnati, a Buffalo, a Kansas City has?
Well, one of the biggest things I look at every week is, what is your record against the playoff contenders? peel away all the other stuff, beating Houston and things like that. No offense to Houston. So I look at that every week to see where you're at. Philadelphia's 5-1 against playoff qualifiers. Now, who's the best in the league? Well, no one has more than 5 wins right now in that area. Buffalo's 5-3, Baltimore's 5-2, Cincinnati's 4-2, Minnesota, and we all criticize Minnesota. They're 5-2 against playoff qualifiers, and so is Dallas. But that's how I judge teams at this point. You're getting ready to play the big boys, and what are we finding out? As an example, Miami. Hit the brakes when we get it to the big boys. So that's it. And I think Philadelphia, to your point, Mark, has done enough in my mind against qualifiers. So I think they go into the playoffs and they should be able to handle this situation. They only have 1 loss against those guys. And you can look and say, well, look at the ones they beat. Yeah, well, they beat teams that are going to be in the playoffs at this time. And we'll see a little shakeup at the bottom. We saw the Patriots jump right back into it last night. So, yeah, I think they're – you know what I do think, Mark, about them? I don't see any weaknesses. That's the point on them. They have depth. They can run the ball. They have an elusive quarterback. They can man up in a secondary. They have an 8-man rotation to rush the passer. When you look at this league, not many teams can fit all those qualifiers, and they got them all.
You mentioned the Dolphins. From your vantage point, what is it that you're seeing? What we were trying to figure out yesterday is how much of this is on the quarterback and how much of this is on the head coach, that maybe it took 3/4 of a season, but now the league has figured out that offense.
I think at this point, any good defensive coach has done a pretty good job figuring out most offenses. It doesn't mean they can stop them, but they know what they're doing. And they know how to. That's why is Tennessee having a slowdown, a real slowdown? Because it's pretty simple to figure them out. In regards to Miami, I don't know what the coach's choices are. They're not a very good run team. Their offensive line's been beat up. They don't play good defense. So consequently, on offense, you're always thinking about, we got to keep scoring. We got to keep taking risks here. Then there's Tua. And the one thing about Tua that I don't like a lot of things about the guy, but they get in his face, he's going to throw off his back foot. You see how many balls started sailing high and outside? Because he's getting the defenders are in his face, and he's not one of those guys like, to me, the kid over in Cincinnati, he slides away from that and resets himself somewhere in the pocket to get a clean shot. Tua, to me, doesn't do a very good job of doing that.
Is that something he can get better at, Pat?
I think so. I mean, there's a lot of, drills for it, but instinctively, I think he knows he wouldn't say it this way, but he knows he can't afford too many hits if he's going to survive in this league. So a lot of those guys, they'll go down with a sack, they'll throw the ball away. I saw the other day, Gino threw his interceptions, almost all of them off his back foot. They got in his face, and instead of taking the sack, he threw it up, and there it was, picked off. So I think Tua's got a ways to go, but I know that game decided one thing for me that I already knew. Herbert's better. Did everyone agree with me on that? Did that game kind of – because I get a lot of callers that love the Dolphins that take personal issue with me when I say Herbert's better, and I thought the game kind of proved that. Herbert is spectacular, and there's a guy that can get away from stuff and reset his feet and throw the ball properly.
Well, his performance Sunday night was tremendous. I mean, 50 pass attempts, an absolute must win. The Dolphins actually got a lot of pressure on him. He made a lot of throws under duress. He was awesome Sunday night. He was top 5 in the league, no question about it, on Sunday. Unfortunately for them, they've already got 6 losses. They can't afford too many more. Listen, I don't know what to even ask you about the Tampa Bay Bucks anymore. Pat, are they just a bad team?
Yeah. So they are a bad team. The quarterback looks like he's 80 years old, and I'm sure people would think he should have retired when they won the Super Bowl. He's still trying to play. I would say this: his San Francisco audition didn't go well. If you think he's going to the 49ers next year. So they have, and I talked to Todd Bowles yesterday, and he kind of said, we have to look in the mirror and see how bad we want this. And it's kind of an interesting thing for him to say. And he said, and coaches included, how they feel about what they have to do. They've let Carolina back into the mix here, which is ridiculous. But it goes back to your first point about how poor the football is in this league, that Carolina is even in contention. And I know 29 of these teams still mathematically alive. Well, we all know that isn't true. But Carolina could overtake Tampa Bay unless they get rolling here. And I don't know how they're going to get rolling. They got a left tackle that can't block. They got all backups inside. Although the kids inside, Todd said it. I said, Todd, I watched the 3 inside guys again. They're not the problem. They're okay. They're not great, but they're okay. So there are issues. Now I think the more this season goes on, the more we realize how much Brady needed Gronk to bail him out of stuff. If he had Gronk, he would have got him through 2 wins easy. Just, the red zone stuff and everything else. So yeah, I think they're bad, but they won't last. They'll be the 4 seed. Now there's a question for you too. This was posed to me by a guy at CBS that I like a lot, not on this show though. And he said, why can't the league at least say, if you're the 4 seed and have a losing record, you lose the home game? I said, they're never going to do it, but I hear you loud and clear. If you finish with a losing record and the 5 seed has 12 wins and you have 7 wins, first off, I don't even think the people at the 7 win are going to come to the game. So you might have empties and no shows there. So I said, I bring it up to you two, but we know it's never going to happen. But man, I'd like to see that happen.
Pat, I love the idea of it. And I didn't ever think about the crowd element of it. But, Tampa has always had a problem with people coming to games before this guy named Brady got there. Now, imagining it could be the possible last game in a Tampa uniform, I don't think they'll have an issue selling tickets, but I do think there's some there to that.
Yeah, I do too. And I check every week. There's a lot of red seats, and that's not guys in red shirts. Those are empty ones. And so I think, we had some problems. David should remember this. I don't remember. I think it was, I don't know which teams it were, but we had some teams in the playoffs with no shows, empty seats at playoff games.
Yeah. A, they're not cheap. B, that time of year, sometimes the weather. And like you mentioned, C, if people just go, come on, we don't have much of a shot. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan will join us for one more segment on the other side. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains and CBS's NFL Today show. We thank you so much for listening. Miller and Moulton, where else but the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right, fellas.
Pat, I'll make you a deal. I'll let you change the playoff structure however you want to change it if you can get me 53 guys who are active on game day. When he went down third play in the game, the only other quarterback they had activated was Colt McCoy.
Yep.
When Stevenson gets hurt mid-first quarter, the Patriots literally, because the other running back was a game-time decision, and he ended up not being able to go, and they basically didn't have anybody else that they liked. So they went from 4 running backs to 2 mid-first quarter.
You're preaching to the choir. I've been fighting for this, and I told you many times. I've surveyed and interviewed owners on this subject, and they all agree, but they never propose it.
I don't get it. Last night, the Patriots, the starting corner can't play. The backup gets hurt in the first half. They're down to the third string corner. I mean, come on. There were 6 guys who got knocked out of the game yesterday, Pat. Now, I know that's not a normal game, but if you think about it, this time of year, how many guys can't go, period, how many backups you're playing, and then to have 6 starters get knocked out in the first half of a game.
And all that's true, and I'm with you, but we should have ended Thursday night football 2 weeks ago. That we're going to play a Thursday night game at this point in the season, and with 2 teams that have a lot at stake for the sake of entertainment and money is ridiculous. Because guys, Pete doesn't know who's even going to be there ready to go. San Francisco has no idea what's going to happen with the quarterback situation. So Josh Johnson's going to go, come on, do we have to really? So I'm with you, but we continue to play Thursday night football this late in the year. Shouldn't be doing it. We could argue they shouldn't do it at all. So
it's not going away, so we shouldn't even argue about it. I mean, that's the other side of it. You guys are both right, and you know you're right, but it's not going away.
No, it's not. And the fans are addicted to the game, so there's no protest about it. The money is ridiculous for these guys. And so it's just going that way. And now we're going to play 3 games on Saturday. Well, that's a big deal. That's 6 teams. They got one less day to recover.
All right, Pat, I want to talk to you about that just quickly, because if college football goes to a playoff, this would be a playoff Saturday. Do you think the NFL would back off on, because they don't back off to anybody, would they back off to their free minor league system?
Yes, they will, because that's, a feeder for them that they don't, and they are always at least publicly concerned about the college people's perception of them. So yeah, they would. It's the way it'll be, but don't worry. We're playing a playoff game on a Monday night. The winner of that game's got a short week to the next round.
Yep.
How insulting is that?
Although I will say the team that won on Monday night last year won the Super Bowl. It's another reason why the league will go, see, doesn't make a difference.
Well, they love to say that when it proves their point, but when you bring up the injuries last night, they're not bringing it up.
I just don't understand how billionaires are okay paying people full price to not play. I don't get it. And we all know the one person in the league that's holding this up, and I have no idea why they haven't just moved them aside. It's asinine.
It is. It makes me angry, and I get into this subject a lot. So,
all right, I'll never bring it up again.
How many are on the practice squads right now?
16.
It's ridiculous. When the practice squad was
6 veterans they could have 20 years of experience. So there's a mobilization there all the time that you can always have enough guys.
Right. I mean, I get it when the practice squads were smaller pre-pandemic and it was a little, I don't get it, but I could at least understand it a little more.
Yeah. So now everyone brings their practice squads with them on the plane, just in case someone gets the flu at night and they got to activate guys. So you're traveling with them. You're prepared to use them if you have to. So why don't you just suit them up? Anyway, they turn a deaf ear to that stuff. I'd be interested if the networks put pressure on them, honestly.
Here we go,
guys.
Well, The league at some point has to care about the product, and nobody thinks they do.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. You know, we've got, and we're talking with Pat Kirwan. He joins us once again. NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show, and he joins us courtesy of Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. You know, Pat, it's happening again. You know, last year the Eagles started 2-5, made the playoffs. The Niners were 3-5, nearly made the Super Bowl. We got the same thing going on again. Washington was 1-4. They're on a 6-1-1 run. You know, the Niners have won 6 in a row after they were 3-4. The Bengals were 4-4. They're now 9-4. It's remarkable how teams are able to keep it together in this league when we in the media and fans almost always bail on them.
Well, they know the math. They know, that first we've got to educate the young rookies because they're college football players. What do they know? If you lose 2 games, you're not in the national championship. So they live in a world of, 1 loss, you're in trouble. 2 losses, you're out of it. You got to train those guys to understand you're alive. You don't have anywhere but to go but up. And so if you all of a sudden get healthy and you see someone, a team bringing back 5 and 6 guys from the first IR, which is the first 4 weeks, and all of a sudden you're at full strength while everyone else is going down with injuries, you can get on a roll. And if you have guys like Burrow who understand how this works, especially a veteran team like theirs that have been through this before and got all the way to the Super Bowl. But for every team that's advancing, we have teams sliding back. And maybe that's the real question for me. So you tell me who the Dolphins, the Titans, the Bucks, the Seahawks, who are they? They're going in the wrong direction. And so it kind of, there's a sliding scale both ways. And it happens every year like this. Don't you like to enter the playoffs hot? And, you don't have a choice there. But if you're the team that's rolling in with 5 or 6 straight wins, feel pretty good about yourself. There's only 7. I was talking about quarterbacks before, 76 threw it, 55 started, blah, blah, blah. Of the 14 quarterbacks that played all 13 games, only 7 of them are qualifiers for the playoffs. So that means exactly half of the 14 qualifiers have quarterbacks that had to use more than one. And in some cases, 3 quarterbacks. We're at San Francisco. What number quarterback are they up to or down to, depending on how you look at this? 4?
Well, one of those teams that's a non-qualifier that's had the same quarterback start every game are the Detroit Lions, and they are hot. Are they hot enough to qualify for the postseason in your estimation, Pat?
I think they are. I mean, they got a couple of things have to happen above them and fall apart. And maybe there is some falling apart there, like with Washington, the Giants, and Seattle. And if we can get those guys to keep crumbling, we know there's a guaranteed loss coming up. Washington and Giants play each other. So in Seattle, we're going to see them in 2 days. And they didn't look very good the other day. They can't stop the run. Oh, what's San Francisco like doing? Running. So, yeah, the door could open for Detroit to get in there. And it would be a great story, Mark, not just because that's your hometown, but the way Dan Campbell has pushed that team along, it's really kind of great to watch. And I've talked to Dan now 5 times since the season started. He is awesome, and he's his own guy. He does not care what people think of the way he's raising his football team, and his team loves what they're feeling with his leadership. So, yeah, I would love to see him do it. And there's enough shaky teams in those spots at 6, 7, and 8 that they could make it.
The Lions are in Jersey this week. They're playing the Jets. First off, when's the last time that both these franchises have played this significant a game in mid-December? It's been a while, number one. Number two, Pat, we know the GM picked Zach Wilson 2nd overall. But what Mike White showed on Sunday, the guts to have grown men express the emotion that they felt towards Mike White for what he exhibited on Sunday. Pat, I don't see how Zach Wilson can play there again as long as Mike White is standing.
Well, there's the problem. He may not be standing. The guy takes an incredible amount of shots. I mean, the first big one right in his chest, I thought it cracked his sternum. But yes, they love him. They admire him, his toughness. You know who he reminded me of? History note here. This is right to David. Ron Jaworski. When Jaworski would stand in there and just take a beating for his football team just to keep it moving. And I've talked to Ron many times about it. When I saw this kid, he has that kind of grit to him, and he throws the ball pretty good. It's not just toughness. The guy has talent. So I don't know how you put Wilson back on the field, but now the door might be open for Wilson to play this week.
Yeah, but how can you do that? Honestly, he hasn't played well at all. Joe Flacco, when he played, led you to a road win. I mean, they're saying Salah's pressed all the right buttons and what have you. Come on. If White can't go this week, how the heck can you put Zach Wilson on the field ahead of Joe Flacco?
Because Joe fumbled the first play he went in last week.
All right, we talked about Tampa and how bad they are, but they still should win the division. That's unless Carolina can continue to do what they're doing. How impressed are you with what Carolina's been able to pull off the past few weeks?
I'm impressed with their coach. To take over a football team midstream like that and kind of rally the troops, settle down all the emotion, and and maybe settle down the owner, who sometimes I think doesn't have any idea of what he's doing. That's the guy I'm most impressed with. They've run through quarterbacks like there's no tomorrow. And Darnold, it's a short sample size, but he actually looked like an NFL quarterback the other day. When he was playing Seattle, he looked like a team and a guy that could run a team. And his mobility was good. He wasn't running for his life. He was running strategically. So, he's out of contract at the end of this year, but I think if they get a run out of him, wouldn't it be hysterical if they landed up trumping the Bucs with Sam Darnold? There's another storyline that's almost as crazy as Baker Mayfield going in and taking over and winning. That's wild.
Well, the other thing that could be going on in Carolina is Steve Wilkes might be coaching himself into getting that job full time, if for no other reason than if you're the owner, you could save a little bit of money, quite frankly. And you're shelling out a lot of it to Matt Rule still, despite the Nebraska deal. But, we'll see what's going forward there. Pat, big picture, okay, in our remaining moments, we got a couple minutes left because we'll get into the game specifically with you on Thursday. And make note of that, ladies and gentlemen. Pat is going to be a day earlier coming up this week on Thursday. Big picture, 3/4 poll or just past it in the NFL. What's on your mind?
Well, I think the cream's rising to the top, and it happens regularly. And so I think really there's 4 or 5 teams that could actually win this thing. Every Monday, I try to go through a bracket so I know who the 7 seed is, and 7's playing 2. And you love doing this kind of 6 playing 3. And when I ran it out this week, the Super Bowl was Cincinnati and Philadelphia. That's how I saw it shaking out.
Ooh.
Don't know if that's ridiculous or not, especially on the Cincinnati side, but I worry a little bit about what's going on with the Buffalo team. They don't seem to me to be totally ready for this. All of a sudden, Kansas City, I think there's some warts on their defense, and the quarterback threw a couple picks. I would not overreact to that. So I don't know. I'm trying to look for the team that makes me feel great in the AFC. There's so many good ones. I'm leaning more towards Cincinnati, and the more I drill down into them, the more I like that football team.
Mark, think of the world that we're in right now. People are high on the Bengals and the Lions. That's the world that we're living in right now.
Hey, now for all the things we criticize the NFL for, and do they care, and do they understand roster size? The problem is that it's a damn exciting product. Whether it's good or not, I think you have to have a real football eye to know that it's not. The fan is entertained. There's a million games going to the last minute, the fourth quarter, the whole shooting match come from behind victories. So on the entertainment level, it's pretty darn good, and people are addicted to it.
And the fact that teams who haven't been winning are starting to win now only helps the entertainment value. Pat, we'll talk to you on Thursday. Thanks so much.
Okay, take care, guys. Thank you.
Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. He joined us once again courtesy of pinchers. Thanks for listening.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, Adam, that's tough to expect because the Titans are playing the Texans still.
Now the MVP trophy is the Michael Jordan trophy.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow. Surprised it's not the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar trophy. Wait, but hold up. It's not the who was the guy
They
before?
changed it.
They changed the trophy? What the hell?
Just telling you. Just read it. The Michael Jordan trophy is awarded to the Kia NBA Most Valuable Player.
Wow. Did you see the picture of it?
No. It's a trophy. It's a trophy. I don't care.
Sorry.
Like that. No, I mean, you really? I mean, wow, that's a cool trophy. Put it on my. I'm going to put it on my wall.
I care about all the nooks and crannies of the NBA. I'm sorry.
You got that tweet I sent you last night, didn't you? That direct message that I sent you and John about Leach.
Yeah.
$30 seconds.
I got a couple of texts here.
Okay.
$10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Just had a pretty good hour, if we do say so ourselves, with David Samson and Pat Kirwan back to back. A reminder, Pat will join us again on Thursday, a day earlier than he normally does, and we'll go through the Week 15 slate.
Text line is open. It is 21,000-21-000. If you want to text the show, if you've never done so before, FSN radio is the keyword. Do that once and you are in. And I love the text line for things like this. We made, kind of went through the Philly schedule a little bit and I poked a couple of holes in their wins, not knocking the team, just the winning percentage of their opponents. One text, Philly is built for the playoffs. Next text, the Philadelphia Eagles barely won a few games. They caught Dallas with a backup quarterback, and their schedule is too soft. Wait until Christmas Eve when Dallas puts it on them at home instead of Cooper Rush.
Yeah!
Followed by 6 of the Eagles' wins are against current playoff teams. They don't have a glaring loss like Kansas City, Minnesota, Dallas. Niners lost to the Bears and Falcons. The Eagles are the most disrespected 12-1 team I can recall in a long, long time.
And I would ask that gentleman, how many 12-1 teams can you just recite in the last 10 years off the top of your head? I actually don't know anybody disrespecting the 12-1 Eagles. If anything, I don't know a 10-3 team that's been held in less regard than the Vikings. And Felipe, what is it that you said during a break yesterday? Is the Vikings point differential, is it +1 or -1?
Yeah, -1. Mm-hmm. By the way, the Dolphins' point differential is +1.
Here you go. If you're a believer in that sort of thing.
Well, the Jags have an even point differential.
Right. They're 5-8. Dolphins are what? +1. They're 8-5.
Right.
Soon to be 8-6.
The Lions are 6-7. The Vikings are 10-3. The Lions have a better different point differential than do the Vikings.
Well, they just whooped them by 11. But to me, credit the Vikings. They've won 9 one-score games. I mean, most of the NFL games are one-score games. Shouldn't you get credit for then winning them? That's what good teams do, right? Yeah, apparently not. Hey, can I change course here for a second?
Sure.
So you mentioned something during the break. So apparently the NBA is trying to make some news today.
Yes.
They renamed damn near everything they have. Not that any of us care about MVP. Well, except for Felipe. Felipe, we just put you aside, not in a bad way. Excuse me, just saying that, you still care about this stuff. 99% of the sports world, all right, stopped caring about MVPs and Cy Youngs and all that stuff. For whatever reason, in the 21st century, these awards stopped meaning the Heisman Trophy, Mark. Would you also argue the Heisman Trophy is dangerously close to having little to no meaning in this country?
I think so.
So they renamed the regular season MVP award after Michael Jordan.
Yes. It is now the Michael Jordan Trophy. It is 23.6 inches tall and will weigh 23.6 pounds.
Why 23? Why 23.6, you ask, ladies and gentlemen? Because he wore number 23 and he won 6 championships. Wow. That's a little too much detail here, but okay. So apparently Kareem has the league social justice champion award named after him. Even though he won more MVP trophies than Michael did.
Right.
The Defensive Player of the Year award's now the Akeem Olajuwon trophy. The Rookie of the Year trophy is Wilt Chamberlain. Havlicek for the Sixth Man of the Year. That fits. He kind of helped create it. There was no Sixth Man of the Year award when Havlicek played. And George Mikan gets the trophy for Most Improved Player.
Well, they are also giving out the NBA Clutch Player of the Year award, which is the Jerry West award.
And that is clutch, not with a K.
Correct.
All right.
Give that award name every year.
And we will talk to the NBA about that at some point in time and say, hey, we have a suggestion to make. But yes, Jerry West, the logo, now gets the Clutch Player of the Year. Can I ask a question? What the hell is that? I mean, we have enough trouble getting Felipe to find one of those a day. I mean, Clutch Player of the Year, is that Finals MVP? No, that's the Bill Russell Award. Honestly, how ambiguous is that? The Clutch Player of the Year.
It sounds like the player who doesn't get the MVP award or a couple of other awards, and they've got to slide one in for him.
Listen, this person keeps finishing second and third. Is this the Joel Embiid Award? Okay, when he didn't win it last year. Okay, is that what this is?
I bet that the HBO Winning Time version of Jerry West would be pissed at that as well.
I mean, what the heck? The Clutch Player of the Year award
would be great if someone broke that trophy every year. Sorry, I just had a little. You got me going on Winning Time there, and he's,
yeah, I could just see him.
He's not breaking trophies that he supposedly broke, whatever it may be.
I don't get this at all. Is this where we come up with awards so we can honor players who play for the Timberwolves and the Sacramento Kings? I mean, honestly, what are we doing here? Clutch Player of the Year award. Don't we normally give that person the MVP? I mean, how can somebody be more clutch than the MVP?
Well, it seems like a media-driven award.
Don't blame it on the media.
All are media-driven awards, but the league's the one that came up with the idea.
Yeah, don't blame the media here.
No,
Okay.
I'm not blaming the media. I'm saying that the award, like the decision
Which
of who,
one isn't?
but the clutch one is the most. I mean,
I'd have more respect for the award if it was Clutch with a K. And they said, yeah, we have a new sponsorship deal with this great vodka. Okay. And they're coming up with a new line of spirits. And to be honest with you, they're Clutch. And we thought, why don't we come up with a Clutch Player of the Year? We heard this Yahoo show, Miller and Moulton, one time. All right. And they had the Clutch Play of the Day. And we said, we can trump that. How about the Clutch Player of the Year? All right. I just had to get that out of my system.
Do you feel better?
I mean, the other stuff, okay, Michael and Akeem, and okay, fine. And then find what? Somebody in the back of the room who, for 3 years has been making suggestions at these meetings, and, the commissioner hasn't gone with any of them. And finally, the nerd in the back of the room goes, I think we should have the Clutch Player of the Year.
Somebody agreed with him. That's the whole problem. The nerd in the background may have said it, David, but somebody in a very strong position of power put their stamp of approval on this.
I mean, I don't know. I know we don't care about any of this stuff anymore, but it seems ridiculous.
It is funny, while the rest of the leagues, we hear less and less about the awards, the NBA seems to want to give us more and more awards. The one thing I did find out about this is that there apparently is a Joe Dumars Sportsmanship Award in the NBA that I didn't even know existed, David.
Huh. How about that? You sure that's not the Clutch Player of the Year?
No, I'm positive.
Okay. Also, they renamed the conference championship trophies, the Western Conference trophies, the Magic Johnson Trophy, and the Eastern Conference trophies, the Larry Bird Trophy. Here's my question, because neither player cared about winning the conference championship. They only cared about winning the NBA championship. Would either guy even show up to hand out the conference championship award? Mark, you and I are hockey guys. The hockey players don't even touch the trophy for winning the conference title and getting to the finals. They barely pose for a picture in the area code with it.
Nope, they all get around it, tell the guy to take the picture fast so they can skate away from it as quickly as possible.
Right. Here you go. Here's the Magic Johnson Conference Championship Trophy. Yeah, what do you expect me to do with this? All right. I feel better. Thank you.
it is ridiculous though that the NBA decided to make a Clutch Player of the Year award before a Comeback Player of the Year award. Because I would like that more. I mean, you could make the Derrick Rose Comeback Player of the Year award.
Let's slow down with awarding more trophies after people.
It'd have to be a Hall of Fame player.
Right.
Okay. I mean, that first off, and Derrick Rose is not going to the Basketball Hall of Fame, or at least he shouldn't, put it that way. We could figure out who we'd name that Comeback Player of the Year award after. Right after I hand out the Clutch Player of the Year award.
It could be the Bill Walton Comeback Player of the Year award.
You know what?
If I were to, just off the top of my head, that's where I would go.
You're onto something there. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. That's good. Hall of Famer, champion.
What about the Reggie Miller Clutch Player of the Year?
That's not bad.
Well, they've already got the Clutch Player of the Year for Jerry West, though.
Yeah, but are we agreeing with the choice?
Well, he was clutch. I mean, you know, when you win Finals MVP on the losing team, they think you're pretty good. When they decide you're the logo,
right?
They think you're pretty good. But
when they call you Mr. Clutch,
right? His nickname was Mr.
I know that. That's kind of why I said.
Did he hit a half-court buzzer beater in a finals game? I think he did.
He to send it to overtime. Yes,
oh,
they lost. Right. They lost, but he hit a half-court shot to send a finals game to overtime. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mark, I do enjoy the very few times that we talk NBA, and we talk it infrequently because our audience has told us they don't want us to talk the NBA. So that's why we talk it infrequently. But I love, there's usually a moment when we talk the association when Felipe jumps in with the tone kind of like, I'm going to educate you two about this league.
Right. I appreciate that.
And meanwhile, I want to, Felipe, you know my fondness for you. I want to pull you aside and go, you do know I watched Bob McAdoo play for the Buffalo Braves, okay? I mean, we both go back a few years.
Earlier in the show, you said pre-D-Wade Heat. I'm like, man, they got that on me.
Yep.
I don't even
There is such a thing, Felipe.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It wasn't nearly as good. Okay, but there was life in Miami in the NBA pre-Dwayne Wade.
Oh, man. Harold Miner days.
Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, Pat Riley.
Steve Smith.
Some good players, just not good enough. Yeah, that Jordan guy, he was a problem.
He
was a
really
real
was.
problem. It's a real problem. New York, Miami, Cleveland, Charlotte. He was, never mind, all those franchises out west. He was a real problem.
Miller and Moulton. If you miss any of the show, you can download the podcast. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com or any of the usual places to download your podcast and catch any of the show that you may have missed. David Samson and Pat Kirwan both already on the show today.
Someone wants to know if the MJ Trophy is sponsored by Nike. No, but they helped design it.
And MJ did have to give approval of the trophy before it came out.
Right.
We have someone, a couple of the texters. What's next? Bench hype man of the year? And another texter says, well, these group of millionaires grew up with participation trophies, guys. What else would you expect?
Well played, sir. Well played. Does seem like a lot of trophies.
An awful lot of trophies. And now fortunately they all have names. Trying to bring a little bit of the history of the game with the trophy. And by the history of the game, we mean only the last 25 to 30 years.
Right. And by the way, we're doing this to make sure that the post game goes a lot longer. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening. Port Charlotte, Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete. The bonus hour in the 239 is next.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Tell you what, you guys are bringing it today in the Twitch chat room.
Pretty good. For a non-NBA group, you guys are really doing well today.
I was going to say.
The Muggsy Bogues Little Man Big Heart Award. I love the one about Paul Pierce that was up here. Paul Pierce Cry Ass Award. And the Bill Embiid Thug Award. Biggest Flop Award, LeBron. King Charles, the Terrible Award.
Felipe, are you just going to go down and read all these for us that we've already read?
Hearing them out loud is making them funnier. That's the thing.
Hey, Bruins are awesome. Nothing bad to say about the Bruins.
By the way, speaking of Horace Grant, have any of you seen Wendell Carter Jr.'s glasses on the Magic? He looks like Horace Grant. He looks like a modern Magic Horace Grant. Awesome.
I'll have to check it out.
Now with Cunningham out for the Lions, they could get the Pistons. They could end up with another lottery pick up high. Then he comes back. My Pistons are 2 years away from being good, Felipe.
Yeah. Cage just got to stay healthy, man. He's really freaking good. And he's a City of Palms Classic alumni. But yeah, just tank the rest of this year. Get a good draft pick. Draft good. Make the playoffs next year. Let Jaden Ivey develop even more. I have faith in the Pistons.
God, they have stunk for a long time.
I was going to say, what have the Magic or Pistons done to?
We had a Magic fan just text us, by the way.
Wow.
Just to give us a little crap.
Gave us crap?
Yeah, he said, as the lone Magic fan, I'd like to point out they've won 3 in a row after you guys were bold in saying they wouldn't win 2 in a row. Just had to get that jab in there, as I haven't had much to jab about since 2009.
I was going to say, did you text him and say, hey, we pointed that out yesterday. We made fun of ourselves.
I did. Got to
Yes.
remember, nobody listens to all 4 hours, so they might not catch that one
No.
moment that we.
Exactly.
5 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Thanks for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Unfortunately, Mike Leach still needs a miracle. That story out there, Mississippi State and his family basically saying, yeah, nothing more to tell you. It is what it is. And if anything changes, we will let you know.
That is just so sad on so many fronts. Because it doesn't look good. And all reports are that it is very grave, to say the very least. That I can see myself going down a rabbit hole where I just spend a day watching Mike Leach videos.
I have spent a decent amount of time in the last 12 to 18 hours, just everybody airing their best Leach, video clips and people telling their stories. So yes, Mark, and we were lucky enough to have him in our first act on the show, probably a handful of times, almost always during the off season.
And it was calling his cell phone and whether or not Mike would answer. If I'm not mistaken, we very rarely had a scheduled interview with Mike. Our producer had a little bit of a relationship with him at the time.
Right.
And we'd call him and say, can you come on? And Mike would simply say, just call me.
Okay,
4:30, we got Mike Leach on today if he answers.
right.
And I almost feel badly because a lot of those videos hadn't come out. This goes back quite a ways. I almost feel badly that we wasted any time talking football with him.
Well, we tried not to because he wasn't very interested. It was almost always during the spring and summer when we could get a hold of him. And so he just wanted to, and he would spend a decent amount of time at Key West. All right. So he knew we were, in Florida. So he would, that earned us a little bit of cred with him. And so 61 years old and in grave condition after a massive heart attack over the weekend, and everybody relaying their favorite Mike Leach stories and hoping for a miracle. Kyler Murray, it's not made official yet, but it's pretty much known, blew out his right knee yesterday. And we'll see how long he needs to get back and in what shape he will be in. And obviously, he's not just a pocket passer. And so how much will this impact his career going forward?
That big contract doesn't even kick in for another
2 years. Not this year and not next year. Kicks in 2024. $189 million of guaranteed, by the way. Not going to be easy to walk away from him if that time ever comes, let me tell you. But we've seen some teams lately get creative, willing to eat salary and even trade away draft picks just to, take this guy off my hands, please. I am not saying this is a good thing. Please do not anybody twist what I'm about to say, because obviously this is a horrible thing that happened for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals yesterday. But Kyler Murray probably in the next year is going to have to do some things. I mean, his ethic has been questioned. Okay, his commitment has been questioned. Unfortunately, you suffer a major injury like this, the only way you come back from it is to do the two things that he has been questioned about. And, let's hope for the best.
And we'll find out just what his work ethic, what his commitment is, because this is a grueling process to try to get back in, what Burrow did it in a little less than a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like 10 months, basically. But here's Odell 10 months later, granted from his second ACL tear, and he's not back ready to play. Can I throw out there, is this going to impact the Ravens with Lamar?
I think that Lamar's injury this year is already impacting the Ravens, David. I mean, this is now 2 years in a row where he's been banged up. And I think as many have pointed out, and it will continue to be pointed out with his mom or he acting as his own agent, it changes the communication between the two sides. That you can't sit there and say, well, I don't think your guy's healthy enough, because you're actually telling it to the guy. So I don't know if Kyler Murray, I think Lamar's been affecting Lamar's story.
2 years in a row now. Hurt and what have you. I mean, they can go the tag route for a couple years, but just wondering, with all the injuries this year, and now that he's had injuries in back-to-back seasons, he's only missed, 1.5 games so far. We'll see how much more time he misses. And while we changed subjects there for the last couple minutes, in doing so, the word has now come out that Mike Leach passed away. And apparently he died late Monday night, is what officials are now saying. Mike Leach was 61.
Sad story. College football lost a treasure. He truly was.
And there's a lot less personality with the coaches in this era than there was from a generation, never mind 2 generations ago. And so, yes, he will be missed. Needless to say.
A lot of fun having he and Lane in Mississippi.
Yeah, there really was. There really was. And I know a couple of Mississippi State fans have expressed, Coach went out a winner. They won the Egg Bowl. They won the Egg Bowl. He hadn't been feeling well for a couple of days. All right, before the events of Sunday. But Mike Leach has passed away at the age of 61. And I hope this isn't taken badly, but there will obviously come a time when the folks in Starkville are going to have to go, now what do we do? And just gut feeling, Mark, if you were them, would you call Dan Mullen?
Wow, that's interesting.
The old, can you go back home again, so to speak? 9 years he was there.
He did really well there.
Yeah. He did. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was able to take 3 stars and make them good players. Never had that same success when he went to the Gators, but man, oh man, he was turning, 2 and 3 stars into 4 and 5 stars by the time they were done there.
I'm going to say this out loud because sometimes we just need to repeat our history verbally. But this is the job that Dan Mullen did at Mississippi State. 2014 was the very first year of the 14 playoff. And the whole, we're going to come out with this TV show in mid-October, and we're going to tell you who the 4 teams would be in the playoffs if the playoffs were this weekend. And do you know, in the very first TV show with the 14 playoff, who the number 1 team in the country was? Mississippi State. That's the kind of job Dan Mullen did. Mississippi State had them number 1 in the country in the fall of 2014 until they went to Tuscaloosa in what I think was the second weekend in November. Undefeated, number 1 in the country. Mississippi State. Are we sure? I understand he left. You were bummed, the whole deal. Apparently the AD wouldn't even let, he took out he wanted to release a statement and they wouldn't even release it for him. That's why he had to take out a full page ad in the paper and so he could say goodbye. And, I understand there's some bad feelings and all that.
But when have you done better?
And not only that, he loves the place. And so does his wife, Megan. They spent 9 years there. As Dan was wistful. He did an interview about a month ago in which he really doesn't like how he's perceived in Starkville. He's sad about it. And Dan is a pretty cocky, arrogant guy, not a reflective guy. And Dan was like, we loved it there. We have never spent more time in our lives as adults than we did in Starkville, Mississippi. We loved it there.
Well, if you think about it, when you're an assistant, you're bouncing around from job to job. You're looking for the next job. You finally get your head coaching job, and you're actually able to plant some roots there.
And he wasn't asked to leave, actually. They were mad he left. So I'm just wondering if you're, this is tough, obviously, for this athletic department. But when you pick up the pieces and, also think of the timing and all that, early signing period, transfer portal, and what have you. This is on the field.
This is horrible off the field, and this is really bad on the field for Mississippi State.
Yeah, this is likely going to be just a lost year. And that's tough to do, especially in that conference, and recover from quickly. But when they finally sit down and go, all right, my head stopped spinning for 10 minutes. What are we going to do going forward? In our Twitch chat room, Yinzer suggested Ed Orgeron. Ed Orgeron can recruit anywhere. Ed Orgeron can sell ice to the Eskimos.
Miller and Moulton. Mike Leach passes at the age of 61. Sad news. Apparently happened late Monday. We're finding out about it just early this morning, just in the last few minutes, of the passing of the legendary, and a lot of people calling him a national treasure, and it's hard to argue with those sentiments about Mike Leach.
The Pirate.
Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day win. What's on tap? Our final thoughts. They're all still ahead right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, sandboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit, featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. You know, I don't like Taylor Swift.
What?
Just letting you know.
What'd she do?
She bothers me.
Okay.
It's not her fault. It's the stupid ads she does, but she bothers me.
Let's just put it this way. The fact that Rihanna is doing the halftime show and not Taylor Swift is a W. A huge W for the NFL.
Well, Felipe, it's really all about timing, marketing. I mean, she sold out her tour months before the Super Bowl. If her tour was, you know,
Whoo. Yeah, it's a lot. 30 seconds.
It's her birthday today, by the way. Just let you know I don't like her. She's 33. That's where it came from. It wasn't just a random thought. I was just putting the ages next to the people's birthdays.
It's funny. I'm a fan.
10 seconds.
I don't even really like her music.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. The bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I'm in Phoenix after the Patriots took care of the Arizona Cardinals 27-13. Kyler Murray blew out his right knee. Going to be a struggle to get back for the beginning of next year. In fact, that's likely doubtful. Never mind what kind of quarterback will he be when he comes back. If you missed the news in the last 15 or so minutes, Mike Leach passing away at the age of 61.
Miller and Moulton text line is open. 21,000 is the number. 2100 for any of your comments, thoughts on the day's events.
It was just brought up in our Twitch chat room. Does it matter, like, the timing of when you're fired? Did you hear the story about Navy and Ken Niumatalolo? So they lose the heartbreaker in double OT to Army. You know, they sing each Academy songs. Navy walks off into the bowels of the stadium there, and Niumatalolo's sitting in the locker room, you know, head down. And the AD comes up to him and says, "Ken, we're making a change." Niumatalolo said he kind of looked up. It was like trying to process what he just said. And he said something to him to the effect of, "How about you just take it easy and just give it a night, you know, and we'll talk tomorrow." And he said, "No, been thinking about it for a while. You know, we're making a change." Oh, okay. Thanks. I'll talk to the team now.
For that reason, it matters. You have to let the coach at least be able to speak to his team before you fire him. In most lines of work, David, it does not matter when you are fired.
Certainly not in ours.
That's true.
As two guys who together have been fired once and have been fired separately once, never mind our life without each other, where we've been fired a few times.
Fact, we've both been fired in the room that I'm sitting in.
I was asked to leave the room and be fired in a different room.
Yeah, I was let go in a different room and allowed to actually finish. I mean, you and I had the exact opposite things happen.
Right.
You were told to leave.
Right.
And go right now.
Correct.
I was told to leave in a few days, and they actually allowed me to finish it out. Does it really matter?
They were surprised you didn't do the rest of the week. You remember that? Your contract was up either at the end of the business day on Thursday or Friday. And they let you know on Monday afternoon, "Hey, we're not renewing your contract." And you kind of staggered into the studio. All right. And, you know, obviously, if you wanted to go home, not going to stop you. We both just received horrible news, worse for you than me. And you kind of sat down stunned. And I said, "Well, you want to do a final show?"
And they let me.
Yeah,
they didn't have to.
Right.
I will give them credit. They did not have to. They let me come in here, finish the show, say a few nice, because at that point, David and I thought we'd never work together again. We really
Correct.
thought that was it. I said a
Right.
few nice things about him. He said a few nice things about me. I went on my way. He went on his way.
But I just remembered how they were surprised that you didn't finish out the week. I don't know if they said that to you, but they said it to me over the course of the remaining days before your contract was up. And I laughed at them. And I mean, right at them. I'm like, hold on a second. Can we review? Can we just talk this out loud? So that's kind of what I think Ken Niumatalolo was trying to say to the AD. Listen, how about you go have a nice steak? Okay, sleep on it. How about we just talk tomorrow? Okay.
But I do think it's tough that he basically didn't have his chance to even address his team following the game, being told he's gone. That it just, I don't think you can do that to a coach. I mean, obviously you can. They did. And by all accounts, I mean, the way people are speaking about him post firing is that he's obviously a really good dude.
Yes.
Sometimes there are things that come out after the fact and you find out, you know what, this guy was a bit of a blankety blank. Well, okay, then he was fired and there's a reason why they didn't. But coaches came out of the woodwork to speak praises about what a good man this is. And you really don't get the Navy job without being a good man typically.
Yeah, you would think you have to be a person of honor, right? To be
Right.
the head coach of Army, Navy, or Air Force. I mean, not that people really care, but the AD was very matter of fact yesterday because he had a press conference yesterday. And people were kind of like, first off, what are you doing? And secondly, why'd you do it? And he's like, I kind of told him and his agent before the season started, we need to win the Commander-in-Chief trophy and we need to be bowl eligible. That's what's important to us. I'm not saying we got to make the college football playoff here. I'm not saying we have to win the American, but I think we should be bowl eligible. And I do think we should be consistently winning the Commander-in-Chief trophy. And they have, after Saturday, they lost 5 of 7 now to Army after having won it 14 years in a row. 2002 through 2015, Navy won it every year. And they haven't, I think they've only won the Commander-in-Chief like once in the last 6 years too. So the AD was like, this should not be a surprise to him or his agent. We had this conversation before the season started. I mean, we lost. We finished last in the Commander-in-Chief trophy standings, and we won 4 games. Meanwhile, UCF fans are going, damn, came to our place and won 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Looked pretty good.
We'd have hosted an AAC championship game had we not lost that. And
gonna say, best 4-8 team we played this year, I'll tell you that. So just asking the question, Mark, does it matter how, when, where, you're fired?
No, because at the end of the day, if it weren't for some interesting ways to get fired, it would make the stories not nearly as fun down the road. In that moment, it really sucks. But down the road, it makes for a much better story around the holidays. Hey, Dad, remember when they fired you right on the sidelines? That was cold. Pass the potatoes.
Dad, remember when you got fired walking off the field at Mississippi State? Hey, Brett Bielema, remember when they fired you, right? But you didn't even get off the field at Arkansas after losing? And you remember who fired you? That's because the AD wouldn't fire you, so they fired him first. So anyway, that's the story there. And yes, bringing up Lane Kiffin in the Twitch chat room. Yep. Pat Hayden didn't even let him get on the bus and get back to campus.
Nope.
Fired him on the tarmac. Not quite sure why that was necessary. He's going to have to head back to the office to get his things anyway.
Makes for that getting the key meeting even that much more uncomfortable, as if anybody even cares at that point.
Right. So.
Have you ever had someone watch you leave the office? Have you ever had one of those where they basically watched you pack up to make sure you didn't steal stuff?
I was kind of followed where you are now. I didn't have stuff to grab. I had a pair of headphones and what have you. But they were kind of following me around. I turned and looked at the guy and said, "Relax. I'll be gone in 5 minutes." And yeah, TV station in Binghamton, Mark. Oh yeah, they followed me around the building, and I took 2 hours because of it.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right, guys, check it out. Check it out. New phone case. Nice. You like it? Yeah. It's like the stripe on the helmet. I know this is not that great right now. And watch Jack's happy hour from yesterday on YouTube. War Damn Eagle? No, not War Damn Eagle. What the hell are you talking about? War Damn Eagle. Come on now. I like Auburn, but not like that. I miss the Gus Malzahn days. Well, I mean, it kind of does look like it. But, you know, Adidas got a soccer game. We got World Cup later. Argentina, Messi. Come on now. Doesn't look like the Dolphins. Dude, it's literally the stripe on the helmet. Come on now. Come on. Illini colors? Oh, Illinois. Oh my God, dude. Anything but the Dolphins, of course. Show a picture with Gio. Oh, you guys want to see a picture? Hold on, let me show you a picture. I'll show you a picture. I'll show you. Oh shit, Mark's coming back. Mark's coming back. Hold on. Oh wait. Can't really see your face, but look, that's us on the beach. Color looks more blue. Or Bears. I got Bears, actually. My friend's a Bears fan. Huh?
I have no idea. I stepped away. I came back. Is those like Miami Dolphins colors on his phone case or whatever?
It's the stripe on the helmet. Yeah.
Okay. It's very exciting.
See, I don't have a Tua jersey, but I have that.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah, baby Jules, you sound like my mom.
Felipe, how you look now is how I looked like the summer of my senior year of high school or freshman year of college.
Nice.
Not really, but you know,
At least
that's what my hair did. I didn't have to. I haven't blow dried my hair in 45 years. I would just towel dry it, and it would just naturally fro.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got going on.
Yep. That's why at some point in time you have to rein it in.
See, my problem is I have really thin hair, like really thin hair.
Yeah, I have thick hair.
So if I rein it in too much, it starts looking like there's craters in my hair.
Well, rein it in. I didn't say you had to shear it. Just
so much for tech time. Hair time with David and Felipe.
Right.
Brought to you by Vidal Sassoon. Ooh la la, Vidal Sassoon.
Felipe's hairstyle, not clutch.
I don't know about all that now. My mom may not like it, but I know another girl who does.
Okay, Felipe.
Hey, I like the curls.
Felipe?
We're coming back.
We all do. It's a matter of whether they like you.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you're just tuning in, the sad news, which was released near the top of this hour, Mike Leach passing away at the age of 61. Kyler Murray likely to get the news official later today that he in fact tore the ACL on his right knee, and not just out for this year, but now next year's a question mark, certainly the beginning of it. And the World Cup semis resume. Well, the World Cup resumes, but first semifinal, 2:00 today, Argentina and Croatia. Can Messi help take his native land to the World Cup final?
I hope so.
Time.
I hope we get a France-Argentina final. I think that would be tremendous.
Couple stars headlining their teams, right? Mbappe and Messi. France trying to go back-to-back. That hasn't been done in a while. So that's kind of the headlines.
Boy, as if they didn't already think highly of themselves.
Right. Right. Tell you what, though. You win back-to-back World Cups.
Them's bragging rights.
You don't pay for much the rest of your life. I'll tell you that. I mean, Pele didn't pay for much. All right, the last 60 years. This just in. I mean, there's going to be a few people on that French team. They're going to have really nice lives with 2 more wins.
Boy, there's no doubt there. No doubt there.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
We start today in 1636, when the Massachusetts Bay Colony organizes 3 militia regiments to defend the colony against Native Americans, recognized today as the founding of the National Guard. Big day today in 1928, David. The clip-on tie was designed.
Did you ever have one?
When I was very, very young. My
Me
mom
too.
bought me a suit, maybe second grade, and there was a clip-on associated with it. That's the only one.
I had 2. I had a bow tie, black bow tie clip-on. And I had, in the 70s, mid-70s, I had a short, really ugly brown.
So mine was brown too. It was it was like a tan suit my mother bought in this god-awful brown clip-on tie.
It like matched all those plaid pants from that era. It was horrendous.
Clip-on ties are a disgrace.
Of course they are. Clip-on bow ties are a disgrace too. If you're not tying your own bow tie, you're doing something wrong. 1936. The National Football League championships were held in New York. The Packers beat the Boston Redskins 21-6. It was the Packers' 4th title. The Redskins would move to D.C. for the 37th season. 1956, the Dodgers trade Jackie Robinson to the Giants. Robinson would rather retire than be traded.
That's hate, ladies and gentlemen. That is hate. We're trading you the Giants. Tell them I quit. Play for them. Please.
Today in 64, LBJ and the Mexican president set off an explosion diverting the Rio Grande to reshape the U.S.-Mexico border. Don't know if you can see that exact spot from the Sun Bowl, David, but I'm guessing it's close.
I think it's, to the left.
1975, Saturday Night Live uses a time delay. That's because Richard Pryor was the host. They wouldn't use a delay again until Kinnison hosted SNL many years later. Today in 89, Driving Miss Daisy was released. 96, Roger Clemens signs with the Blue Jays. 97, Charles Woodson wins the Heisman.
Some of us have been fired a couple times for that.
Just waiting for your phone to buzz before I continue with anything else, and we'll know whether or not Gary Danielson's listening right now.
Right. We were together a few years, and we were sitting around talking about the Heisman one day, and I said, yeah, I voted for 3 winners, 96, 97, 98. He said, wait a minute. You voted for Woodson over Manning? I said, oh, yeah. He said, you're fired.
99, Ron Dane wins the Heisman. 2007, the Mitchell Report is released. 2010, Cam wins his Heisman. 2014, Marcus Mariota wins his Heisman, and Derrick Henry would win it the next year. Also on that date in 2015, Conor McGregor would knock out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds to win his first featherweight title. And in 2018, Dirk takes the court for his record 21st season with the Mavs. Those born today that are no longer with us, boxer Archie Moore, racer Bill Vukovich, and Larry Doby. Those celebrating birthdays today, Dick Van Dyke is 97. Bob Barker was 99 yesterday, Van Dyke 97 today.
Couple of national treasures.
No doubt. Fergie Jenkins is 80. Ted Nugent is 74. Morris Day and Steve Buscemi are 65. Jamie Foxx is 55. Sergei Fedorov is 53. And Taylor Swift is 33. And she's annoying.
Really?
Oh, she annoys me.
Oh, it's funny. I like her. I think her ads are, tongue-in-cheek cute. And, I'm not a fan of her music. I am a fan of how independent she is, though, especially business-wise. So taking on the industry and the whole deal, I don't know. I like her. She seems feisty. Her music's whiny, but she seems feisty.
Yeah, see, she seems whiny to me.
Okay.
That's all. And that might be why. It's you know what, David? She's super successful. She's obviously talented. It's a me problem.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, we are jealous of certain people. It's we're regular folk. We want to be them. We're not going to be them. It bothers us.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
For the good today, we go to Belgium, where residents in a tiny village in Belgium have been chipping in to buy the Euro Lotto for quite some time. They hit, David. And every one of the 165 residents in this small Belgium town are walking away with just shy of €1 million each.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
For the back, go to Miami Beach, where Emily Lockton of Boynton Beach was taken into custody after becoming aggressive and hostile towards an officer, screaming, "Don't touch me," and then slapped the officer in the face.
That's
Before that,
never a good idea.
She had a good reason, though, David. It's because she claimed to be a god from ancient Egypt.
Yeah, you know what? Even if she is a god from ancient Egypt, all right, we do things differently now.
She was yelling at cars, hitting cars, slamming tables before authorities arrived. Authorities noted that she had unusual strength from what appeared to be an unknown substance.
I'm guessing meth.
Me too. Finally, the ugly. We'll stay in Florida and go to Polk County, where a realtor showed up to show a client a home and saw a car in the driveway. Seemed a little suspicious, so she called 911. Turned out that there was a couple not scheduled to see the home that had arrived a little earlier than this realtor to do some canoeing by the pool.
Really?
Officers, they were not the people scheduled to see the home. They just broke into the home to fool around. The 39-year-old man and 35-year-old woman said they didn't believe they were doing anything wrong, according to the police report.
Huh.
They had come specifically to the property to canoodle and were unaware that their plan constituted a crime. What did constitute a crime was the meth that the guy had on him.
Have to admit, that is bad timing. I mean, if you think about it, okay, we're going to go over to this house. We're going to break in. We're going to canoodle and, what have you. And it's during that time that the realtor shows up and has an appointment.
Right. And it's not, I'm sure they just came in the fence in the back. I doubt they even broke in. They just went to the pool.
Right.
Who's not dove in a pool that they weren't supposed to once or twice? That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, December the 13th, 2022.
I mean, that was a great scene in Beverly Hills Cop. Goodness sakes. A couple of things that I just want to throw out there about this day. And I'm wondering, were you here for this day? Because I know in your hockey exploits 30 years ago, because it was 30 years ago today in Atlanta that Manon Rhéaume became the first woman to play in a professional hockey game. She played for the Atlanta Knights, who you worked for.
Yes, I was working that day.
So you were there that day?
I was.
Wow. All right. And you've spoken many times about Atlanta coach Gene Ubriaco. Okay. And the story that I'm reading says, okay, he gave her a cigar with a note afterwards that says, "Now you're really one of the guys."
That sounds right. That sounds very much like Ubi. He is a character, to say the very least.
What was that scene like 30 years ago? Because that was fairly big national news.
It was interesting because with all of the attention she received, Greg DeWalt, who was the public relations manager of that hockey team, had to deal with Manon regularly. And he would be the best person to ask about that year because it was not always rosy.
Oh, I could imagine.
She was at times overwhelmed by the attention she was receiving. And being French and a little bit of a language barrier, it was tough. That night was crazy. At that time, the hockey team that I worked for was out drawing the Hawks on a regular basis without Mano Rayon playing. They had taken Atlanta by storm. And I always thought the NHL team would do really well because of it. But it was a great night. It was a memorable night. And I remember, I think I still have the autographed program by Mano somewhere in a drawer.
Oh, wow. Two other things about today. We captured Saddam 19 years ago today. But Gore conceded today 22 years ago. And whether you voted for him or not, I have to admit, his concession speech was good, was exactly what the nation needed at the time. And I mean, if you think about it, at the time, did you think he was just going to walk away politically? No. Politically, that he'd never run for anything again.
No.
Because
you're that close. Mr.
Biden, right. I mean, what did USA Today a year later come down and conclude? 537 votes in Florida. We talk about tough losses to live with in life. Whoo-wee. That's a doozy right there.
And then to never run again. You're right, David.
Right.
I don't think anybody would have thought that.
No. So anyway, just World Cup, 2:00 today. Argentina, Croatia. Croatia, they've played, 5 matches in this World Cup? They've only won 1 match in regulation. They had 2 draws in qualifying. They've won both their elimination matches and penalty kicks.
They'll play defense and try to get to another one again today, David.
Yep. They made it to the semis 4 years ago. They made it to the final 4 years ago. They beat England in the semis 4 years ago, lost to France in the final. Now they play Messi and Argentina.
Lots of hockey tonight. The Lightning are at home facing the Kraken. The Panthers are at home facing the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Panthers are minus 305. I understand Columbus isn't that good. Have they watched the Florida Panthers this year? They're basically a 500 hockey team. That seems high to me. NBA, we got 5 games, none of them involving the Magic or the Heat. TNT, the doubleheader, Golden State, Milwaukee early, Boston and the Lakers late. That's not bad.
The Maple Leafs play tonight. Can Marner keep the point streak going along? That would be the only other thing hockey-wise. That's been pretty impressive of what he's done here now.
It's tough to take the Leafs seriously before April, isn't it?
Not talking about the Leafs. I'm talking about a guy with a run here that is unbelievably strong.
It is.
That's a lot of pressure for a regular season for a guy.
Agreed. It's just tough for me to take that. I mean, what's it, 67 since they won? Yeah. Miller and Moulton. A hump day edition tomorrow. We'll see you then. Thanks so much for listening here on the Florida Sports Network.